Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 220, special voter edition. All politics, all the time tonight.
That's right. We're just going to be giving you updates from the Senate races in California, Wyoming, Montana, Nevada, Colorado,
everywhere
Idaho.
They're important.
It sounds like the Republicans have flipped 2 seats. I don't know. I'm not paying attention.
All right. Well, we are not talking politics here.
Nope.
But we are glad you're joining us here on this very, we'll say, controversial, important, critical, not so important, however you want to look at it. It
patriotic.
Is patriotic, or some people who just don't care.
There are people who don't care.
And that which is totally, I'll say totally fine as well. Whatever your stance is. You have a right to vote. You have a right not to vote, I guess. So, welcome, everyone. Again, 220, Terry Miller, along with Johnny V, on an election night, a Tuesday here. We're going to have a couple of great guests, as always. Moving up, we've shifted things around a little bit. Dana, I just realized that Dana has said he is traveling and not able to join us tonight.
But yet he's apparently in our state.
Allegedly. I mean, have you seen how the voting's gone down? No, I'm just kidding.
He's from Illinois. He thought he could vote everywhere. So he went
just traveling around.
He's going to come up to Wisconsin and vote.
Yeah, I'm not sure it works that way, Dynamite. Well, Dynamite is, he says he's traveling to Wisconsin, actually. I'm not sure if he's working on some course design elements. I know at one point he said that might be in the works.
That's cool.
Or if maybe it's something unrelated to disc golf, but he won't be joining us. So we're going to move up on the schedule a little bit in probably about 5 to 10 minutes or so. We're going to have Dustin and Hannah Leatherman join us from Eagles Wings. They're going to talk about some stuff they have going on, some very exciting things going on with our international disc golf contingency.
I just want to know what country they're going to. I mean, they join us about once a year, maybe twice a year.
Yep.
And they around this time of year, they're always coming in telling us the wonderful trips they're taking and the good that they're doing for disc golf and other things all throughout the world. So I'm excited again to kind of get that information in my melon.
We will get the update from them. And shortly after that, we're going to have a little spoiler here. We're going to have the winner from this weekend's PLO. That's the Phoenix Ladies Open. She is going to be joining us, and that is, in fact, Jennifer Allen. So catching up with her, I had a great weekend in Arizona. So many amazing, great people. Such an amazing event that I just cannot speak highly enough about in the PLO. Michael, Jamie, just the entire crew, Stacy, and everyone else involved. I believe Paul Sacco is the presenting sponsor or one of the main sponsors there, him and his law firm. And then I think of Spinners and Keith and his crew, and then just everyone in that area to put on that Phoenix Ladies Open. I think it was the 13th year, and they knocked it out of the park. 110, 111, 113, somewhere in that neighborhood in terms of registered players. They had to add a few extra holes, and we got to see, again, a really fun... I'll say this, and I probably said it last year, but to go to Scottsdale to see the Vista del Camino course played in a more traditional setup, not necessarily the Memorial Championships XL layout, as they've deemed it, where they have the extra 6 holes across the walkway or across the, I believe it's Roosevelt Road. Just to see all 18 holes on the one side of the road definitely congests things a little bit more, and also makes a few more birdie opportunities out there. And then they still had to fit in 4 extra holes to give you 22 holes to try and accommodate for everyone. And we'll talk about it a little bit later with Jen, but certainly hats off to all of you guys. I can't forget Pete Ulubari, who I know that was there working his tail off to make everything happen, along with the rest of the staff and the crew, and Chris Cobb, and just everyone that I ran into. And then my very gracious host, Boyd Brown, never disappoints. Boyd, I don't think you even listen too much to these, but we very much appreciate it. I can't say enough about your hospitality, you and Dan and the rest of the crew.
How do you not listen to the biggest podcast in the world?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's Rogan, and then there's us, usually.
Yeah, we just barely edge out Corolla.
Just barely, or we're right in between the guys. So, again, thank you guys so much, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Phoenix Ladies Open a little bit later. Hopefully, you're going to see that release ASAP as well. I've got some great footage coming for you guys in the next week or so, or less, including tomorrow night. Yeah, other than that, did we see anything crazy this last weekend? Do we want to recap just an event or two quickly?
Sure, we can talk about, there were like 5 A tiers this particular weekend, but we'll talk about, I believe, which is probably the biggest one, which is the 5th annual Buffalo Run presented by Native Disc Golf. That is out of McAlester, Oklahoma. Tournament director is TJ Goodwin. 27 open players. The man that everybody's talking about. Okay, the second guy everybody's talking about, Kevin Jones, takes this one home. He shoots a 32 under par, besting the field by 8 strokes over Bo Tillman and Matt Bell. So congratulations to Kevin, winning $1,000 this particular weekend, shooting a 1027, 1048, 1042, some really, really stellar golf. 2 rounds well above his rating. The other one just a hair under. So that should be helping with his particular rating. There's still lots of rumors on what Kevin Jones is going to be doing this year. There's talks of, I've heard Prodigy, I've heard Discraft, I've heard
Innova,
yeah.
Franklin,
Whammo. Yeah.
They're all in the mix. Quest AT.
He's a wanted man.
Latitude. I've heard them all.
So ultimately, he takes this one, shooting, again, like I said, averaging right about 1045 golf, it looks like. Bo Tillman, Matt Bell, Emerson Keith, Larry Gardner, Taylor Sears, Coda Hatfield rounding out the top 6 there. Let's move down to the FPO, a slightly smaller field. We only had 3 women at this particular event, but 2 of the top probably 4 or 5 women in the world, in Katrina Allen and Lisa Fakis. Katrina Allen wins pretty easily by about 17 strokes over Lisa Fakis, shooting 986, 981, and 947. So 2 rounds above her rating of 953, and the third one just a bit under, beating Lisa Fakis, who shot an 8 over. Lisa shot 923, 956, and had a disappointing last round, which was an 879 for her. But FPO takes, Katrina takes $300, Lisa Fakis takes $170, and big hug goes out to Lauren Butler, who shot a 19 over. So that is your Oklahoma event, the 5th annual Buffalo Run presented by Native Disc Golf. We can probably sum up maybe one more A tier. We've got the 21st annual Pro Fall Colors out of Williamsburg, Virginia. 24 open players. The lefty, Zach Bob Ross Melton, winning this one, shooting 41 under par, beating Chris Dickerson.
What?
Which you don't say very often. Chris had a 38 under. Zach beat him by 3 strokes. They basically, first round, Zach had him by 1. Second round, Melton demolished the course and shot a 1073, beating Chris Dickerson particularly by, it looks like, 8 strokes. Thank you. And then third round, Dickerson with a massive comeback, beating Melton
by 6.
by 6. Finally, they tied on the 4th and final round, but it wasn't quite enough. So Zach Melton takes that one home for Team Dynamic Disc, besting out Prodigy's own Chris Dickerson. Third place was Steven Schroeder. Fourth place tied with Andrew Fish and Corey Ellis. And we see Michael Joe tied for 6th with Jonathan Burns and Lance Brown. So congratulations, Zach Melton, on your $1,500 paycheck. Scrolling down for the women, we have 4 FPO players. The ageless wonder, Elaine King, shooting a 20 over par, beating Wendy Betcher, I believe that's how that would be pronounced, by a lot. I'm just going to say that. It was
enough.
Enough
She
strokes.
edged her out.
She just barely edged her out. So Elaine King takes home $500, shooting 925, 944, 947, and 955. That's 3 rounds above her rating. Always like to see that. Let's keep edging that rating up. $550, and Wendy with $300. So congratulations to all the winners of that particular event.
All right. Well, very cool. Go ahead. Give us a quick Moccasin Lake. That's after being in Florida back-to-back weekends. I wasn't there for this weekend after we were there for the Pro Tour finals and then the Monster on the Mountain. Then they had another A-tier right in that swing. As I look over, I see two of the top finishers that I saw the weekend prior.
Yeah, correct. Calvin Heimberg, rated 1029. 6 strokes, he defeats Reed Frescura. Yeah. I was telling you this last week that I think Reed needs a cool nickname. And then people are saying Fresca or something along those lines. I just think Reed needs an awesome nickname. Maybe something related to skipping off water.
Yep. That would be... many of you may know or remember him. Not only did he kind of make a big splash, which was unintentional, but and not as appropriate. When we were talking about last year's Pro Tour finale, that's when I remember
who's this guy?
I felt like a couple of the caretakers during the Major League when they looked at each other. Who's this guy? Is originally what I thought when I saw him at the Pro Tour finale last year. And then many of you certainly saw and heard of him when he was skipping off hole number 17 over at Lake Eureka during this year's Ledgestone. But solid lefty, originally out of Michigan area, and said obviously it's not as thrilling of a sound to go back to Michigan during these winter months.
I would avoid it.
He's down here touring right now, and I don't know if it's public or not, so I won't share any of the details. But he's going to pick up he said he was looking to picking up a winter job that would keep him in the South in Texas. And there's no secret or hidden message to that.
No. I thought I saw Double G actually made a post a week or two ago, reaching out for if someone could put, I think it was Reed, up for a few days in general. He's like, if someone could put my buddy up Reed for a few days, so Reed can stay in Florida. Well, anyway, Calvin defeats Reed by 6 strokes. Calvin takes home $790. Those round ratings. Calvin is a 1029 rated player. First round, he ties his rating at 1029, then shoots a 1049 and a 1038.
It's almost exactly 1038.
Yeah,
for an average on the weekend.
I think you're going to see Calvin's next ratings update jump up probably at least 3 to 4 points. Calvin, every time I look, seems to be shooting over his rating. So Reed shoots a 19 under par, 1029, so he had tied with Calvin, but then, he lost 8 strokes in that second round where he shot a 972, so that was a rough second round. Picked up 2 strokes in that final round to secure himself second place. Third place was Randon Lada. Fourth place, Charlie Goodpasture. And fifth place, Benjamin Stemmen. So congratulations, guys. Over to the FPO. Ellen Widboom.
Back-to-back A-tiers.
Back-to-back A-tiers. Just barely edging out Madison Walker, friend of the show, my best friend, someone I'd never say a bad thing about.
Awkward.
Sorry, Mads. Don't listen to last week's after show. Just teasing. Anyway, so edges are out by a single stroke. Ellen takes home $450 and Madison with $280. It looks like Madison shot a few rounds under her particular rating, whereas if Ellen shot her rating 1 round and just under the other 2. But congratulations. Third place, Lindsay Fish. Lindsay Fish.
Yes, Wisconsin's
own Lindsay Fish. I was thinking,
she now lives down there. Yes,
yeah. I thought I saw something like that. I didn't realize it was down in Florida. I knew it was down south. So, so congratulations to all the competitors once again winning at the Moccasin.
I love it when the light goes on in your head when something triggers. That's old news. And you're not out there like I am. I know.
Correct.
Well, it's just so funny
Lindsay had moved.
See it.
And I knew it was somewhere down south. It didn't hit me. And then when you see the name, you're like, no, wait, I know someone by that name. And the wheels spin just for a second.
I know. That's what amuses me.
I'm glad when I hovered over it, it said 2 Rivers and not another state, because I might have been confused there.
Yes. All right. It looks like we're hanging on for just a moment. Dustin Leatherman letting us know that they're resetting a few things to get ready to join us.
Then we can talk about the final A-tier of the weekend, which is the Utah Disc Golf State Championships in Salt Lake City, Utah. Tournament director is Brian Usher. So we have 23 open players. Common name that we see a lot, Joel Freeman. winning this one by 20 strokes. So pretty handily. He was the only over 1,000 rated player in this particular event.
That was kind of his to lose.
It really, truly was. So he is a 1017 rated player. His rounds were 1034, 1058, 1043, and 1036. So congratulations on, easily besting your rating. Second place, Cody Simmons. Third place, Russell Jessup. Fourth place, Lance Lengren. And fifth place, Dallas Henson. So congratulations, Joel, on $910 extra dollars in your pocket this year. Open Women, Karina Knowles shooting a 31 over par and beating Marla Tuttle by, it looks like, 19 strokes. So congratulations, Karina, taking $290 home, and Marla with 175. Karina looks like she shot one round above her rating, and the other ones were slightly below. So congratulations to Karina.
All righty. Well, those are some of the updates that we saw from around. We'll catch up a little bit later, as I said, and give you some more of the details and read through those from the Phoenix Ladies Open, the one dedicated women's-only event that was taking place this particular weekend. As I said, we're going to have Jennifer Allen joining us later, so that'll be a good time to get into to delve into a few of those details. One thing, as we're waiting here just for a moment, last week, the day after our podcast had aired, Innova dropped a little bit of a note on the world, a little bit of a bombshell on the world. What was that? Apparently, some McBeth feller has found greener pastures outside of the Innova farm system.
Say what?
Uh-huh. So I don't know if any of you guys knew this.
The worst kept secret in disc golf.
Exactly. So Paul McBeth, it was just announced, in fact, that Paul McBeth is, him and Innova are parting ways at the end of this year. And I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but that was the gist of it, is that they're parting ways. Now, Innova did not make any mention, nor should they have, in my opinion, as to what Paul's future plans are. They just simply said that right now, as of this season or this year, that Paul and Innova are no longer.
Now, are you sure?
No,
I've been reading the internet.
Okay. And it wasn't your Halloween.
That's
trick
right.
Or treat.
Trick. Not so much a treat. That, this is a big ruse. And
yeah.
No.
So no. And truth be told, there is a little humor in that. One of the better, I believe, the better Innova jokes, April Fool's jokes that they've played in the last few years, was putting Paul's name on the bottom of the destroyer, saying it was, McBeth, and they were giving him, a portion or all of the company or whatever, however they worded that April Fool's joke. That was very clever. So I could see how that could help fuel this, but dare I say, no April Fool's joke, and this time they mean business. Everybody means business, and we're talking big business. So, no, there is no, this is not a PR stunt. This isn't marketing. This isn't just to be funny or pull a trick on anyone. Paul McBeth is definitely parting ways with Innova. Now,
so when will they announce that he's going to Discraft?
Wow, that's a good question.
I'm just saying that's what everybody on the internet is telling me. I happen to believe that's probably the case. Just when there's enough smoke, there seems to be some fire. There was a lot of talk about him leaving beforehand. That came to fruition. There's been a lot of talk about where he's going. I'm just going to make a wild assumption that they're probably right as well. If enough people said that he was leaving and he was going to Discraft, step one, he's leaving Innova. Step two is what we're waiting for.
I would love to place a wager as to where he goes. You make mention of one place. I would be willing to wager against that.
Really?
So if somebody wants to reach out to me, I've had some conversations with Paul. As many of you know, we spent essentially the weekend in the same living quarters with him and his wife down in Florida last weekend, the weekend before last, whenever that was, for the Monster on the Mountain. And there's a lot of conversations going on. And I know that I had a brief conversation about it right after the news had hit. I was actually heading out of town to go to a park and rec show myself, and I stopped by the very location where Paul McBeth played his first ever tournament as an Innova-sponsored player.
Yeah.
That's Dretska Park, not far from where we're at right now. And as I alluded to there, I think people need to think outside the box a little bit. There's a lot of conversation about Discraft and about other manufacturers. I think people need to think outside the box a little bit. So if there's somebody willing to play some wagers, I may or may not be a betting man, but I'd love to.
Don't trust Terry.
I'd love to field some of the wagers you guys would like to put out there as to what we're going to see from Paul McBeth.
And as we've seen, regardless of what happens, Paul McBeth, the past week, has probably made a boatload of money. There have been McBeth destroyers flying off shelves.
Sure.
And granted, depending on how the accounting is, he's probably already been paid for everyone that's been sold. But it would, if there's still a huge demand for them in a few weeks, depending on what's announced and what's not, I wouldn't put it past Innova, and nor should I, or should they, to maybe spin up a few more of them before the end of the year. It might make some sense, some financial sense for them to try to maximize the Paul McBeth experience while they have it.
Wow. And so, of course, as always, we expect it and welcome it. Some conversation coming in from the board. And normally we react a little bit more during the after show, but I do want to read a few of the things people are talking about on the board. Zach says he wants to take me up on a bet. Andrew says mixed bag. Somebody says, I'm guessing he is teaming up with a company who got the patent on microelectronics in this year to form a new venture. And then Joe PG says Discraft is going to start a company for Paul, is what I heard from a reliable source. So all very interesting comments coming in. Zach says, Terry, I'll take the bet as long as a new brand connected to Discraft counts. Joe PG is further saying 15 molds.
15 molds?
Wow. I love the internet. You guys are great. There are lots of interesting things out there to be said. I don't even know if I want to shoot any of them down. I think one of the... I won't bother. I'm just going to say there's a lot of incorrect statements out there. And we're just going to have to let it be. Like you said, though, the question is, when are we going to hear from Paul? How is it going to be announced? Of course, he knows he has an open invite here on Smashbox. We'd love for him to talk with us. And, he's got a lot of loyal fans and followers out there. I think really the next question then becomes, regardless of where he goes or what he's doing, what does that mean for Innova's bottom line? And what does that mean for the new line that he has or he's going to? What does that mean for another company or a company he starts or he's part of? What is that going to mean? And it'll be interesting to see because, we had this very lengthy discussion last week about Simon's contract and about who moves plastic. Why do people care or follow or throw what the pros throw? Is it because they've always believed in that brand, or is it because they feel like throwing the same as what that person's throwing? And regardless, and unfortunately we'll never have all the exact numbers, but there's going to be a ripple somewhere. The question is, how big is that ripple, and to whom is that ripple the biggest?
Wherever Paul goes, sales will increase. Period. It doesn't matter. I think I can say that as a pretty hard and fast fact. He has a lot of fans, and he is arguably the best player in the world. You could, again, there's always discussion about first versus second, but I think this year he's kind of put himself back up on that pedestal of probably being the best in the world, and he is going to move plastic. Now, if it's a brand, if it's a sub brand, if it's a sub brand, I don't know, but I think that he, no matter what it is, he'll push that plastic. He'll move it, because we've seen with a lot of other pros that have moved away from their sponsor, it doesn't take long usually to acclimate to your new plastic. A couple months, some people maybe a little bit longer, some people a little less. When Paul throws whatever, the Paul 1.0 and throws it 450 feet on a dime, everyone's going to look at that disc and go, well, gosh, that's the disc to throw now.
Yeah, I need one of those.
I need one of those. So he's going to move it. He's going to push it. He's a very smart individual.
Well, we'll see how all of that unfolds. And it's definitely exciting. And I continue to tell you to just think outside the box. Lot of people
You're
think
saying he's coming to SmashBoxx.
A lot of people think they have the all too obvious or easy answer, and I just I challenge more for you guys. All right, it looks like we have Dustin is ready. I think there's some router resetting.
Sweet,
and so we're going to try and see if we can get them dialed up. I believe the trip specifically is to Zambia, and with that, I'm sure.
Spoiler.
Yeah, I know. Well, I guess I should probably do my Googles. Should I find out where that is on a map? I'm not. Location of Zambia. I mean, I have to sound like I know what I'm talking about. No? Why would I start now,
Why
right?
start now?
Yeah, okay. Apparently it's not in the US. Okay.
That's not surprising. So I just need them to be on Skype.
Okay. I think he knows that. Okay.
I'd assume so.
Skype it up. All right. So we'll get back to that a little bit later. Another interesting note, Ricky Wysocki, as with so many others, have to be in that conversation about sponsorships, about potential trades or companies or realignments. I saw him this weekend. He was out there caddying for his wonderful lady friend, and I walked right up to him. This was during first round, and I wish I spent more time with him, but I was trying to get as many shots of as many women from around the course as possible. I said, I heard some rumors about you and some sponsorship stuff. He's like, oh, yeah? And he just kind of cackled like he loves to do.
Yeah.
And that's about as far as it went. And I mentioned something or other. He cackled about it, and then we both moved on. And I wish I would have been able to have a little bit more of a serious conversation with him. Not that he necessarily would have
divulged anything to you.
Exactly. Not necessarily, but it was a funny response, as always, that I got from him. All right. Dustin, we don't see you. So
I do now.
Oh, we do now. Just kidding. We're going to hit that little button, and we'll see if we can make things work here for you. As we dial up. Wow. Yeah, okay.
So Ricky didn't give you any insider info.
No inside scoop from Ricky. However, it was a very brief encounter as he was out there. I think we're going to see Ricky spending quite a bit of his off season, I'll use air quotes there, in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area, as he's done for the last couple of years. So I'm guessing we're going to see some more of the same this year. And then another question to kind of wrap that up is, when will we see these? It was interesting to have Innova make the announcement that they're not moving forward in 2019. The question is, when will any new deals then be announced? You would have to think they now have Innova's blessing. If Innova's announcing that they're not together, you would think, and that's something I've meant to ask Paul, is,
maybe.
Okay, let's nail down a date for when we are going to hear, the rest of us are going to hear what's going on.
Well, there's a lot. Maybe have Dustin call us.
Dustin, go ahead and try and give us a call. We've reached out a couple times, and it doesn't seem to be going through, so go ahead and give us a call.
So, yeah, there's a lot to be, I mean, whoever it is bringing on the biggest and best player in the world. You need to make sure that you want to get this off on the right foot. So ultimately, there's a lot of marketing that's got to happen. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe Innova jumped the gun as far as when they announced. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was a plan all along. There we go.
Yeah, not sure exactly. And when you say off on the right foot, are you implying a deal with a shoe company?
I'm not.
Because there's a lot of talk about that as well. Have you seen any of that on the internet's shoe company conversations? Many of us know that he was, of course, sponsored at one point by Adidas. He opted to end that, sponsorship recognition with them. And there's a lot of conversation. I know Etonics have done well throughout the years. Some have said that he may be bringing Vibram back. That is certainly an opportunity that could be there for him.
Yeah,
great Italian company that's involved with disc golf.
Well, you know what?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Let's get to some real growing of the sport instead of lining pocketbooks with other frisbee throwers. Looks like we've got Dustin and Hannah. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're
wonderful.
Great. Just, typical disc golf gossip and stuff. What do you got that's juicy? I mean, you guys do trips and, all this missionary work, but what do you got that would give us the good gossipy stuff?
Well, I don't want to break any news, but Paul could be coming to Eagles Wings.
That's true. You guys have had a really good relationship with him and Hannah in the past. We've seen that. Eagles Wings doing big things, pulling Paul McBeth would not be a surprise.
Right. It's just an option. I'm not saying one way or the other, but
it's always good to put it out there because
force his hand a little bit.
That's right. Force his hand to make a decision.
We like it. All right, guys. So Zambia, is that correct? Am I talking about the right country? What do we got going on?
Yes, you are talking about the right country.
All right.
We are. We were on here back in 2016 talking about our first trip to Zambia, which was great, and we are heading back there in January to not only add another 9 holes to the course, but we will be running the first PDGA tournament in Zambia in conjunction with the Ethiopian Open. So it's kind of like the first ever African disc golf tour, which we're pretty excited about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys have to worry about any of the dates? Are we going to see any date switching like we did with the National Tour and the Pro Tour? Anything to do with like Memorial Day? None of that. You guys have these dates locked in?
Yeah, there's only 2 PDGA events in the entire continent, so we're good. We're not overlapping with the other one.
Good. Yeah, make sure you clear those up with Big Dog. And
yeah, exactly. All right. So what does that mean? I'll say for PDGA players, but how about for non-PDGA players? What does that really mean for everybody?
You mean playing in the event?
Yeah, what do you feel like it means for our sport? What does it mean, for the growth and development? What does it mean from, a bigger perspective rather than just like your rating?
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think for us, it's exciting to offer something that, the players in Zambia that are kind of isolated in disc golf feel like they're part of something bigger. So, like when we first went, we just introduced the sport. We built 9 holes and did a lot of teaching of the sport, and we left, and that's continued to go on and grow. But Elam, one of our staff members that works there full time, he's a native of Zambia. He actually got to travel last year because of Johannes' work up to Ethiopia, play in the PDGA event there that was held there, and he came back and immediately shared how his vision was to add another 9 holes and run their own PDGA event. So, it's kind of cool. It's their vision. So we kind of planted the seed 2 years ago, and that's grown, and they've wanted to kind of take it to a new level. And again, for the people that are there in that part of the country, I think it's a big deal to be part of something like a professional disc golf association. They may not know exactly what that means, but the cool thing is they're going to be getting PDGA memberships, and so we'll have Zambia players that are PDGA members, and for them it's a big deal that this is coming kind of to their village, which is what we're really excited about.
Wow. Now, just a few weeks ago when I was at the PDGA Summit, one of the staples at the summit who does all of the international organization and is that liaison, he's a prior PDGA executive director in Hanagar, Guru. I know he helps oversee and has interaction probably with every single disc golf endeavor outside of the U.S. What have some of the conversations been that you guys have had with him?
Yeah, he's been super easy to work with. Johannes really paved the way last year with the Ethiopian Open. So Brian actually went there and participated in that, I believe. So he kind of got to lay the land, and he's actually traveled the whole world. So he's very knowledgeable about things. He made it really easy to work out the details. We'll be using baskets that are definitely not up to PDGA standards. They're homemade in Zambia, and it was no problem to kind of get that approved. And basically, he wanted to do everything he could to make it work. And again, just made it really easy to make it happen, which is awesome.
Yeah, he's such a wealth of information, and when he speaks and gives the updates, at least at the summit level, he always has such an enthusiasm about it, and he's naming disc golfing countries that I've never even heard of, and which is that's not that big of a stretch for me, but it's great to see, and he continues just to talk about all of the international development. Hannah, maybe this one's a little bit more for you. When you guys are working on projects like this, is there any special effort or consideration when it comes to getting more women or girls involved? Is that already a relatively 50-50 mix, or is there any I don't know, bias or stereotypes early on, or no?
I mean, I think that it's pretty 50-50 as far as the participation goes down in Zambia. They have a community center there where basically they hold after-school programs, and so to me it seemed like there's a lot of girls in that program, and those are the ones that would come out to the course every day. So I'll be interested to see how many of them continue with the sport. I think the soccer participation in Zambia is really big, especially with the kids. And so a lot of the boys play soccer, and a lot of the girls do too, but I think it's a little bit less attractive for the girls to all want to play soccer. And so I definitely saw some extra interest in disc golf because it's a sport where you don't have to run around in the dirt, and get maybe quite as dirty or get quite as beat up. So definitely they were interested. And I think another challenge would be, I think some of the girls had to take care of their younger siblings while their parents are still working during the day. In fact, a couple of them actually played a whole round with a baby strapped to their chest, which was kind of interesting. The baby sleeping during an entire disc golf round while strapped to their body.
I'm sure Chuck Kennedy can adjust for that in the ratings.
I think I saw Ragna do that once.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if anyone will play a tournament with a baby, on their back or on their chest. So it'll be interesting to see if they do.
I've played disc golf with a lot of babies, and
Yeah, not physically attached in that way. No.
No,
Okay.
just whiners on the course.
Wow,
but never
that's-
like that.
I mean, talk about such a cultural consideration to be had. Like, that's not something. I mean, we think about, when somebody's pushing a stroller at a tournament of ours. Oh, looks like we lost them for a second. We'll see if we can get them right back.
We will dial them right back up.
All right, 1 second here. And we are holding here as we're trying to reconnect with Dustin and Hannah. All right.
As soon as we get them back, we will.
Does the cool ringing sound from Skype go out to our listeners?
It depends on which screen I have set.
Because I really love the ring. I think it's just delightful. It's so pleasant.
Oh, right.
All right.
We should be getting them back any second here.
I think we are reconnected here with Dustin and Hannah. There we go.
Yeah, we got you back. We got you back. There you go.
I'll move on from the point, but essentially I was just going to say, when we think about strollers and maybe small ones, or half the time when we see a stroller on the course, it's either filled with discs or it's filled with some adult beverages. So talk about a different consideration when you have children, being physically attached. Now, do you think that we have a greater chance, or I shouldn't even say we, you guys have a greater chance of seeing that slightly more even split of men and women then if we're getting to everyone at the same time and introducing everyone to the sport at the same time? Do you think there might be a closer 50-50 or maybe even an advantage on the women's side? Is that possible?
I think it's possible. I'm really curious because, we haven't been down there for two years now. And so I don't know what's transpired, but I do know that, most of the staff that run that community center that are Zambian, they're mostly male. There's one female staff member there. And so she was quite interested in disc golf, and I spent a lot of time teaching her.
looks like we lost their audio.
I don't know if you guys can hear us.
I think we
One second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you guys can hear us.
Yeah, they can hear us.
We have some interference. I think the election has hijacked our podcast. I'm sensing some kind of maybe interference from another country. Is that possible?
I don't know. Hold on 1 second.
We'll try and reconnect with you guys in 1 second. Sorry. All right. Yeah, everything. We saw her talking.
Yeah, we could.
All right, we'll see if we can reconnect again here and hopefully get back on track.
I mean, clearly we're hearing the Skype, so something on. All right, cool. There we go. We got you back.
All right, hopefully everything's good to go. So I apologize. You were saying that there was a woman that was very interested, and that's where you cut out.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, where I was going with that is, so we actually have a trip member, Esther Schultz, who's coming with us, who's going to stay in Zambia for 3 months after we leave, and continue to help grow the sport of disc golf there. And she's a really good disc golfer. So I'm really excited about that because I think that will be huge for the girls and the women in the community who want to play. Having a female pro level disc golfer there, essentially, to help train them for 3 months. I mean, that's going to be a huge deal. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that will be exciting. I know Esther, I believe there's a couple weeks ago that I think through the magic of the Facebooks, I saw her doing a little bit of fundraising, and I immediately went out and contributed to her and the overall project. I think it's awesome, and her and the rest of her family I know are so involved. That whole Schultz family so involved in doing so many good things. That's great. Well, what are you most looking forward to as part of this return? You know, is it the progress? Is it the the progress of the sport, or maybe even the progress of specific players, or what do you think you're most looking forward to?
Yeah, I would say definitely kind of progress of the players as a whole. I think that'll be really cool to see. We've heard, the course gets used regularly, and actually in building another 9, the one staff member there is already taking the lead. So he's sending us pictures and talking about what will work and what won't work, and so I'm mostly excited to see how they're kind of taking it and running with it versus kind of the standard thought of like, hey, we're coming in and teaching and leading the way. So I think that'll be great. And then also it's just we're, in addition to running the kids event, the PDGA event, we're running a kids only tournament on Friday. That will kind of be like a qualifier to get into the event on Saturday. And we're hoping to run a glow tournament the night before, which will be brand new to them. So they'll have no concept of kind of glow in the dark disc golf. So I think all of that will be great. And then also there's actually been some players from around the world that have signed up to come to this tournament. So it is open for people to play. It would be a very unique experience when it comes to disc golf. It's not your standard tournament, but so it's open to people to play. So that'll be cool, just to having kind of a mix of people from different countries there. And I think just having the whole experience of kind of bringing the disc golf community to meeting this community in Zambia, I think overall it's just going to be really cool to see and see how it shakes out.
So let's talk just a couple of specifics. The crew and the staff that you're looking at, did I see is going to be 12 deep when it's all said and done? Does that include you guys or not?
Yeah, including me and Hannah and Esther, we're going as a team of 12 from...
Wow. I wonder if it's an internet issue on their side. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to do one other thing.
All right. Johnny V's clicking some buttons right now. And we'll see if we can make an adjustment here. Hopefully we'll be able to get them back up and running. I'd like to get some details and specifics and check my calendar is really where I'm going with all of this.
All right.
We apologize. Hopefully everything will be good. So you were just talking about There's going to be 12 of you, the 3 of you that I think we all know, and then 9 others. Maybe you were going to go into some dates and other details?
Oh, oh. Hold on 1 second. I don't know why, but you are. Wow, it is a fun night tonight.
Thanks, Bush, Obama,
No, I think
Clinton,
I honestly,
Reagan,
I believe it's a Skype issue.
Trump.
I honestly believe it's a Skype issue tonight, because Skype keeps canceling on us, and it keeps. I'm going to give you one call back. Hold on, this should work. Oh gosh,
I blame Johnny.
I don't know what
appears to be.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on here. All right, let's hold on 1 second. Let's see if this connected up. There we go. All right, this is much better. Much better. We're back.
All right.
And
all your buttons are pressed. Everything's good.
I'm
So
not
hopefully
touching
we're good. All right.
Let's talk about dates.
Yes. Sorry. One more time. The dates.
Yes. So January 26th is the tournament. We'll be going. Hannah and I will be going 2 weeks in advance. Then the team will be going a week in advance. And then players are coming in anywhere from Wednesday to Thursday to play. And so we're looking forward to kind of that whole piece coming together. So obviously we're hopeful that the course design piece will go well, and the course will be ready for the PDGA event. We're really excited to have also Johannes is coming down from Ethiopia. I think he's bringing a couple people from Ethiopia. We have someone coming from Mozambique, another African country. And we're just people keep signing up, and we're excited to see what will happen.
Now, when you talk about the course design, what is the topography? What is the layout? What is the general land? Assets or things that you have available to you that you're usually working with?
Yeah, it's an interesting piece of land. It's pretty flat, not a lot of water to work with, but it has really cool trees. And then another really awesome feature is these huge termite mounds. So like huge termite mounds. So that's been a really cool kind of thing to work with. And so the first course we put in, it was 9 holes. It was pretty beginner friendly. The next 9, they want to stretch out. So we'll be using a different piece of land that's kind of connected to it. So it would look a little different. One of the really fun things was when we were there, it was all just dirt, and it was very just brown, dry, dusty. And then we saw these other pictures popping up, throughout the year during their rainy season. Everything's green, and it looked like a completely different course. So they kind of have the rainy season and then the dry season. I think we're going more in the rainy season this year, so it'll be a little bit different than what we experienced last time.
I know it's a really tough question probably, but do you have like a projected player base or registration? How many do you think you're going to get that will come?
Well, right now we have 23 registered, and that's a mix of local Zambian players and then people that are traveling. And we're doing one of the really cool ways the disc golf community has gotten involved is we're doing like player sponsorship. So you can sponsor a player that not only gets them in the tournament, but then also gives them a PDGA membership, which we're working with PDGA to do. And so we just got a handful of other player sponsorships. So we're actually adding 9 of the kids that play regularly. So we're treating Friday as a qualifier, but there's also kids that play regularly that they want to add already. So I would anticipate us being, in the 40 to 60 range, which, it'll be really cool. And it'll be a mix of, like I said, people traveling, our team, and local Zambian players.
Very nice. Now, I know you guys get a lot of support in a lot of different ways, and we can talk about how people can continue to support you. But right now, it sounds like Innova has been very on board and very supportive with these efforts. You want to explain maybe some of the ways that they're helping you guys out?
Yeah, sure. Well, Innova, they've come on as kind of like a title sponsor for the whole project. So that includes the Ethiopian Open and the Zambia Open. So Johannes is an ambassador for Innova. So there's the connection there. Obviously, Hannah's been a member of Team Innova for a while. But they went, above and beyond what I would have even thought to ask. So if you've seen on the DGU store, they're selling African discs for Johannes, which is helping to support him coming down to the event, helping him support his own event. And the next week or two, they'll put up a disc for the Zambia Open. And then they're helping us out with players packs for both events, and just basically whatever, they've just been great about whatever we need. They're ready to do it. They want to see the project succeed, and they want to see it take off, and they've been just fantastic.
Talk a little bit about the logistics. How early do things need to be shipped, and can I assume shipping, things like boxes of 100 discs and such, are those some of your greatest expenses that are involved?
Well, actually, shipping is not totally possible, because when you ship to a country like Zambia, at least what we've been told is that you would expect to lose at least a portion of what you're shipping in customs. So it would just get taken, and plus the expense is like astronomical. So we're actually, all the team members, they take, as big a bag as you can get, and all the stuff for the tournament, and will be put in there. And then the baskets are actually being built by a welder in Zambia. So he'll build the baskets, he'll have them ready by the time we get there. He actually did, that's what happened last time we went. They built 9 baskets there. So we'll take some travelers, we'll take a bunch of discs to leave there, we'll take the players packs for the event. They're making some trophies there and building the baskets. And so Hannah and I will be there for a little over 2 weeks, and most of what we'll be packing will be disc golf stuff. So, we'll light them the clothes, heavy on the equipment.
Can you talk about what the day-to-day activities are, and what kind of, give us what you think will be an average day, not necessarily during the tournament, but just an average day while you guys are there, or a typical day?
Sure.
Yeah. So based on what it was like last time, I mean, you're pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. It's a long drive to any sort of town, maybe 2 or 3 hours. So it's a village kind of way out in the middle of nowhere, like I said. We just would wake up and we would start working on the course, and then we'd take a break from that. And then oftentimes what we do is we would go to a local school or church and teach disc golf to a bunch of kids, as many as that could come out, basically. And then we would go back and do training with the staff, and then we would build the course some more. And then we would teach some more disc golf. So we would teach disc golf several times a day and build the course a couple times a day, and just keep alternating through that. So we taught a lot of people how to play all around the community. We didn't just stay right at the community center. We actually went to different other areas in that region as well. So we kind of spread the word as far as we could make it with the truck.
I hope this isn't too naive, but what are the buildings? What is the infrastructure like? What are, everything from sleeping to showering to, dining? What is some of the infrastructure that's there for you?
Yeah, so the missionaries we work with actually are connected to like a medical school there. So it's a school that trains nurses, and it's got like a whole medical facility. So there's a dormitory set up for those students, and then all the disc golfers will stay in that dorm. So there's no Airbnb, no hotels, nothing that you can set yourself up with. So everybody will stay in one spot, and then meals will be served by basically the people that are hosting us. So they'll be cooking for everybody, all the meals. Again, no restaurants, that you're running out to. So everything will be kind of on site, which will be it's a cool experience. It's very different. It's like pay for internet. It's not like you're just connected to the internet all the time. So everybody be together would be very much a sense of community.
And as far as like the sleeping arrangements, you sleep in a mosquito net, and the showers is more of like a dripping from the ceiling, and there's a lot of bugs in the showers too, and big spiders. So you have to be careful. You have to watch your back.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you're trying to sell this to anyone as still trying to get you to join them, but but speaking to that, how do people get involved? We'll talk about donations and how to financially support, but if someone's listening right now, or maybe it's too late, maybe it's not, but if somebody wanted to get involved on a personal, hands-on experience from that level, what are some of the steps they take, and what would they be doing, or should they be doing?
Yeah, so the tournament's actually listed on Disc Golf Scene, so you can check it out there, the Zambia Open. And we also have a page on our website, eagleswingsdiscgolf.org, and that will list all the details. And then we have the couple that's hosting everybody. We would connect you directly with them, and they would set up all your arrangements in country, including once you land at the airport, how you get there. And you would need to figure out your airfare, which can be a little bit of a challenge. And then one of the cool features, you talked about, we're not really selling it. It is interesting. I TD a lot of tournaments, and this is the one where like someone signs up, I'm like, oh man, I need to make sure they know what they're getting into. It's not like a typical experience. I am almost like trying to talk people out of it in a sense. But the big selling point is afterwards, our team and anybody that wants to join us will be going to Victoria Falls, so one of the 7 wonders of the world, and going on a safari the next day. So that is the selling point for sure there. And
Victoria Falls, is that the tallest waterfall in the world?
I believe so.
I know. I'm fairly certain it's the tallest one on the African continent. I think it might be the tallest in the world as well.
I think so.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. We went to it last time. It's unbelievable what it's like. And so basically anybody has the option to join us for that. And again, the couple that's hosting is setting all that up. So kind of like your own travel agent, which is nice, has a lot of experience with that.
Wow. I was going to say, quite different from trying to sell, say, the GBO block party or anything that happens after that, which, by the way, I think registration open for tonight, but we'll talk about that later. It's certainly an awesome experience. If I saw Seth Steinway, for instance, on the board, said, I'd go in a heartbeat. And that immediately makes me think, if somebody tomorrow said, all right, yeah, this sounds awesome. I loved what you guys are doing. I have the time. What are some of the things that they need to be thinking about? Maybe financially, you just mentioned, of course, they have to get their own airfare, but financially, if you were talking about putting something together because, a person or two said, hey, let's go do this. What are some of the things they should be planning for or accounting for?
The big thing is airfare. That's going to cost quite a bit. And while you're there, the dorms are, I think, it's like $20 a person per night. All 3 of your meals are covered for $18. So while you're there, it won't be very expensive. It's just getting there with airfare and then hiring a vehicle to get you there, be a little bit. But and then if you want to go on the safari and excursion and things like that. So it's definitely a big financial commitment. But, in terms of being there while you're there, and the event is a charity C-tier, so it's not like we're not asking for $200 for entry fee or anything. So, in terms of being there, fairly affordable, but just getting there is your big challenge.
Okay. I was just reorganizing some details to travel over to Australia. Now, when you're talking about you guys leaving from the East Coast, what is your itinerary look like for how many layovers, that kind of stuff? I know those are some nitty-gritty details, but I'm interested to hear, what does that travel even look like?
Yeah, it's I haven't seen the itinerary yet for us, but last time it was 24 hours of travel, which is is a lot of traveling. A lot of the first flight was like 16 hours, and then we took another flight or two that was shorter. We're flying to South Africa, then you take another small flight, and then again driving, is a whole different experience there. We're talking like dirt roads and driving pretty slow. So yeah, it took us basically from leaving Newark. It took us 24 hours to get to our location in Zambia. So yeah, it's definitely a commitment for sure.
That's awesome.
But well worth it in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So after all of that, if people want to support the mission and the effort, or an individual, or equipment, or participate in just really in any of those ways, or to support in any of those ways, what are the best ways they could go about supporting it?
Yeah, the best way is on our webpage. Again, and I'll put up a Facebook link tomorrow. But eagleswingsdiscgolf.org. We have a bunch of different options to sponsor. So they're centered around player sponsorships, player and hole sponsorship, and then some bigger sponsorships. And really, all that money is going to not only support the local players in playing, but also to support the local people that we're hiring to help us build the course, to build the baskets. So it's helping to fund the course. And then on top of that, we have another team going to Costa Rica to build a 9-hole course in a new park in February. So kind of any additional funding would roll right into that project. So it's a really cool experience. If you do want to sponsor a player, it's $50, and we'll give you a Zambia Open disc and a Zambia Open tag. We've got some really cool artwork made up. You can find that on our Facebook page. And so we want to thank, the disc golf community that's getting involved with some kind of cool things that they can save as well from the event.
Well, awesome. I just came out there, as you were talking about a moment ago. I was pretty easily able to find the Zambia Disc Golf under, if you go to eagleswingsdiscgolf.org, that will ultimately lead you a few clicks later. And then I see all of the different options, like you're saying, commemorative bag tag, sponsor a local player and hole sponsorship, sponsor 2 players along with PDGA memberships, 1 hole, and add your logo to the website, and then a premier sponsor of sponsoring 5 players. Well, go ahead and mark me down. I'll make the donation.
I was going to say, Smashbox. Smashbox will make the donation for the gold sponsor.
Let's do it.
All right,
I think I'm going to do one as well.
Awesome.
I'm going to do one on top
Terry's
of it.
going to do one on top of that.
So Smashbox will sponsor at the gold level for $100 for all of that, and then the disc golf guy will also separately sponsor at another $100 as well. So we'll have 2 more of those coming at you, and we'll take care of those a little later tonight.
Oh, you guys are awesome.
Guys.
We really appreciate it. We appreciate you letting us be on here.
Yeah.
And again, we want to thank, there's been a bunch of disc golfers that have already jumped on. They've allowed us to add 12 people already. This week we'll be adding the kids, and then, we'll keep adding people the more money that comes in. And again, it's going a lot farther than just the tournament. So we really appreciate you guys supporting us. We appreciate you letting us be on here. Appreciate the disc golf community. We've had touring players sponsor the event. We've had companies. We've had all kinds of people. As you guys know, the disc golf community is generous and great, and we appreciate all the support.
Well, I think a lot of us love to throw around the terms "grow the sport" and try to do what we can. But when looking at what you guys are doing and who you're teaming up with, this is like truly growing the sport in the utmost sense. And to me, that's when it becomes such a no-brainer as to, giving the support in whatever way that we can. We love having you guys. We love having the stories and the details, and then also being able to take it a step further with, putting a little bit of money at it as well. So
Completely agree.
Glad to do so. All right. Any parting shots? Anything else you want to share with us before we let you go here tonight?
Yeah. Well, let me just say, also we mentioned Innova as being the big title sponsor. A couple other companies that have been really awesome in helping out. Paragon is always just a great help. They'll be helping us make the tags. They're helping Hannah make some kind of support shirts for her costs, and they'll be sending over shirts that they donate. So you'll see those over there. And Upper Park Designs has donated all their warranty bags to us to take over there. So they send us a bunch of warranty bags that come back, and we take them to Africa and Costa Rica and other places. So really awesome, and a bunch of people have sent in discs. And again, we really can't say thank you enough to you guys and the disc golf community for just getting behind it. So.
Well, and really no surprise, you know, when you mention Upper Park and John and you mention Paragon and Miles, we also align with those guys as just two of the most generous and amazing supporters in disc golf. So really no surprise to see and hear them, again, supporting you guys in the efforts. And, of course, thank you to them as well. So that's awesome. All right,
For
well,
sure.
we'll put out a link or two. Please be sure to keep us updated. Let us know if there's anything else we can do to help. And we'll be glad to do so. And then, of course, sometime, hopefully it doesn't take us a full year to get you back, but at some point we'd love to get some updates from you guys and spread the love and get some results and details. And it's going to be awesome, whether it's Dynamite or us or you guys that come on shortly after the event sometime, and we can talk about results from Africa, from back events in Africa. And I know Johannes and locally, we have John Roundhouse, who works with Johannes from Eifling Plastic. Some great guys, and John lives just a few miles from where we're at, and it's just great to see all these ties and all this support to spread the disc golf love internationally. So glad to have our little part.
John's actually coming to Zambia with us. He's been helping us with the planning and things like that. So yeah, another great guy to mention, and we're happy to partner with them. It's cool that they did it last year, kind of showing us the way this year. So,
well, it's great, and again, it just it warms our heart to see legitimate things growing the sport and such a great cause all around. And thank you guys for the tireless efforts that you put in, so that people can have these experiences. Thanks to you guys and the rest of the staff and the crew and all the volunteers that you guys put together. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, guys. Travel safely. Look forward to seeing you, and we'll hear more from you upon your return.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. Have a good night, guys. Yep. All right. So, again, even after just a hang-up or two, we're getting hopefully all the details from Dustin and Hannah. And, just how awesome. I can't say it enough. When we so generically always talk about where and how we can do things that have an impact, and that I think is maybe the best word for this, just to be so impactful.
I think there's, as you said, there's growing the sport that we kind of do here in the U.S. And it's almost like, to use a wonderful analogy, it's almost like watering plants here. The sport is already growing. We're just they're going out and planting seeds in places that have no disc golf history, that have no disc golf information, no disc golf knowledge. So it is wonderful to see, and I always love to have them on and support them.
Do you plant seeds in termite mounds, though?
I don't know.
I don't know if those sound like a scary place to be playing around, but apparently, as chimed in on the board, those apparently are something that are cool to work with. So no, again, thank you to the both of you, along with Esther, who I know who's going to be joining in that trip, and probably some other disc golf names that we'll know or recognize, and truly going out there and doing the work internationally. And as I mentioned earlier, John Roundhouse, a gentleman that's Johnny V and I kind of grew up with in the disc golf community. He lives west of us by about 25-30 minutes. Over in Watertown, Wisconsin. He's with Eifling Plastic, and he worked hand in hand with Johannes last year to get that event up and running over there as well. So great to see him with the follow-up and be part of that as well, and really no surprise. He's out there doing good things. So,
all right, hold on 1 second before we go any further. I want to just check one thing here on our recording. I want to make sure that that everything is all hunky-dory, and that we are getting the best.
Oh, the best. Nothing but the best.
Nothing but the best.
Better than all the rest.
That's what they say.
Is that Tina Turner?
Yes, it is.
Simply the best. Okay. Anyway.
I just watched this thing on Tina Turner like a week and a half ago. I did.
Wow.
She is living over in, I think it was on CBS Sunday Morning or something, how she's living over in Switzerland these days, and it was a long story about how, in general, her history with Ike Turner and the whole deal, and it was very interesting to say the least. So, Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Of all the random things, I think that was like on 2 weeks ago.
All righty. Soon, in just actually a few moments, I think we're going to be dialing up one Jennifer Allen. She's out on the not quite West Coast. She's Mountain Time, and we're going to talk to her a little bit about that. Jennifer Allen, as far as I know, has always been a very competitive disc golf player out of Oklahoma. This year, we saw her recently, well, if you Facebook stalk her at least, we saw her recently move to Arizona, and by her Facebook post and everything else, it looks like her and her family are getting quite acclimated to the Arizona weather, along with the Arizona disc golf, and this weekend, I think, was no exception to that. And we'll be able to talk to her about the Phoenix Ladies Open here. I don't know if you need to, as we stall for a minute, maybe I'll reach out to her. Something that we saw on the PDGA website that was made official, and we heard rumblings, we heard conversations about it, we kind of saw it coming, and I really think it's a clever idea by those guys over there at the PDGA there, talking about combining some of the world championships, and maybe the best word is to realign them. Did you see the article on the PDGA there, Johnny?
Not on PDGA. I saw an Ultra World article actually pop up and more or less say that they're going to combine amateur masters with pro masters, which completely makes sense. One of the big complaints that the PDGA has had about the smaller worlds since we've kind of divided it out is a lot of people lose that community feel that they've loved for so long. Like, hey, I'm so used to going here and seeing all my friends and this and that they felt that maybe separating them by age group for pro and am would be better. And that it'll help increase numbers, and you will have that feeling again of more people and more people around your age. I mean, disc golf has no true age limit, or who we've hung around when we were younger. We hung around plenty of the seniors of our sport, but times are changing, and I think it's a really good idea to see the disc golf, to see the PDGA realize an issue and so quickly mitigate it and say, okay, let's try something different. We are at a point now where we are experimenting with our, I know it sounds silly, but we're experimenting with our world championships. And it's not pro worlds, but to a lot of people, this matters just as much as some people pro worlds. So we are going to see them combine all the masters and kind of, I think it was 2020 was the year that they were looking at doing that, or 2021. I forget.
2021, I believe, is what I saw.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and follow that question up, as I'm actually, I don't know if you're out there and you're listening right now, Jennifer, but if you are, we're ready for a Skype call whenever you are. My Facebook is acting awfully goofy at the moment. Someone had made a post asking if, it kind of fits this theme, should the Disc Golf Pro Tour offer the Masters division?
Should they?
Should the Disc Golf Pro Tour offer a Masters division? Give us a hot take. I know someone's been asking for hot takes. What's your hot take, so to speak?
I'm going to say no right now.
Okay, why?
Like, we've seen, we're getting a call here from Jen Allen. We've seen that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is still getting its legs under itself for just having Open and FPO.
Okay.
I think bringing in the Masters right now might not be the best move. Let's get the tour established. Let's get some of the things ironed out before we bring on another relatively big division and have that happen.
Okay.
That's my particular preference. Let's wait on the Masters. I'm not saying it can't happen in the future. I just don't think now is the right time.
All right. Well, I'll give my 2 cents a little later, but I think I heard that's if all of her children are off Fortnite and she's able to join us.
We just need her to click that video button.
Hopefully there's a little video button she can click on, and if so, we can welcome Jennifer to the show. We hear her.
Yeah, we just. Do you have?
There should be a little icon somewhere.
A little camera button somewhere.
Looks like a little video camera of sorts. If
There we
you
go. There we go. Hold on one second.
All
What I
right.
can do is I can just adjust it.
Slightly.
Or you can do it too.
Okay.
That works
She's
too.
gonna make a quick adjustment.
That's great.
Perfect. Just
you
like
got
that.
It. You got it under control.
Jennifer Allen, how we doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good. Thank you for joining us. It's well overdue. I mean, you happen to win. You happen to have a big move recently. And so all in all, perfect timing to have you. How are things going?
It's beautiful here. How can it not be going good?
All right. So let's talk about that. For some of us, people were saying, and throughout the entire year, like, I don't feel like I've seen Jennifer at as many events and and people asking, not seeing you maybe at as many of the pro tours or as many of the national tours as we've seen in the last few years, but you were quite busy. Talk about this this transition cross country.
Yeah, so I think we've been here close to 3 months now, going right about 3 months. So it's been fun and busy and exciting. And we literally moved here the day before the kids started school. So we just like jumped straight in and are just still kind of catching up.
So for those that don't know, you grew up and were you born and grew up in Oklahoma? So you were there all your life?
Born, raised, never left the small town.
But yet every weekend when you were out there playing, more often than not, you were driving, I think. I think of you as a lot of traveling to Texas, but you'd go anywhere. You always had a long drive just about everywhere you went. And then you're one of those superhumans that not only did you possibly leave the latest possible time you could because you worked a full-time job, you drive, sometimes maybe even through the night, play a whole weekend, and then hustle back for your regular job that was either Monday or by Monday afternoon or whatever. Is this going to bring you any closer to tournaments, or is this going to change your game plan for tournaments at all?
I don't know. I was really excited thinking it was all warm weather that there would be all these tournaments to play here, but I'm missing a lot of big events. The Oklahoma Open, McAllister this last weekend, VPO, Piney Woods. There was like 5-6 big events at the end of the year that I always hit. So we'll see. I'm going to San Diego next month to play. So, I mean, hopefully I'll play as many events, but there might be a lot of different events, which I'm excited for because I still love getting out, meeting new people, playing new courses. So I'm excited for a lot of the California events. New Mexico, I've never been down there to play. Utah's close now. Arizona, of course. But so hopefully play a lot, but maybe not as many back toward the east. So.
Okay. Well, and for what it's worth, you are now super close to Sky Harbor Airport, which obviously is one of the larger airports in the country. Shout out to my peeps over at Southwest. Love you over there, guys. But you're pretty close to an airport, so now if you do go in and out, that's maybe not quite as stressful or painful as maybe in the past.
Right. I would probably be flying back. I don't know. A 10-hour drive isn't too bad, but there'll probably be a few more flights.
Exactly. Now,
I just wanted to say real quick, not related to Jen, unfortunately. We have someone on the board who is kindly donating a disc for anyone that super chats tonight on our board. So for as little as $1, if anyone that wants to go ahead and go super chat, Disc Golf Nerd is going to be donating a Latitude Fuji. So so let that be known. I thought I'd announce it real quick. We got Jen on between interviews relatively fast. I didn't get a chance to announce it. So let's
all right.
Back to Jen.
Yeah, so Jen, this weekend, Phoenix Ladies Open. Talk about a hometown tournament now for you. When I talked to Famous Ed, we know you're out there watching. When I talked to Famous Ed, he said he sees you playing and practicing out there all the time. Is Scottsdale or the Vista course, is that the one closest to you, or is that just one that you find yourself practicing at most, or what's been that adjustment like for you, and what courses are you playing?
I haven't played all the courses yet. I was playing Vista, of course, practicing for the event. So I'll still be playing there a lot, but we're playing Paseo this Wednesday. We started trying to kind of do what I did in Oklahoma and create a women's league out here. So the Desert Valley Women's League, and we're going to do the same Wednesday league that's no score, no cost, just trying to grow the sport and get more women out there. So we're going to rotate between Paseo, Vista, Emerald, Red Mountain, and Fountain Hills.
That's
and
awesome.
Occasionally probably
So that women's league, and I know you kind of brought it up or quickly mentioned it during the awards this weekend, but that women's league is going to rotate around every single week. Is that the plan?
Yes, so typically 4 weeks during a month, and you'll just rotate courses because how I found in Oklahoma, there was always just a couple of women at every course, but they were afraid to lose or to go play a different course. So once they would come and play our league that week, and then eventually they would kind of go to the different courses. So it seemed to work and help. It takes a little time. I think there's a lot more women here. So I'm excited to see how quick that we can start getting more women out to play together. So.
Well, and that was going to be my. What's that?
I said clearly there's a lot. There was 110 women here last week. So.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question: is do you feel like the atmosphere is any different when it comes to how many women are in a given area? Because it seems like almost everywhere you go in the country, people always say, yeah, we only have like 3 or 4 or 10 women that play, at all. And I'm like, okay, well, that's like everywhere else in the country, unfortunately. Do you feel like is it similar that maybe there are a lot of women, just not a lot that want to play in a competitive format, or do you feel like there's a lot of competitive women out there that you think you'll see regularly at league?
I feel like there are more competitive here, but that just could have been because we were all prepping for this big event.
Sure.
So we'll see. Every time I was at the course, there were women and families on every hole, lots of little kids, and I just kept saying how awesome it was to see so many women and families out playing. And then I was reminded, that'll change, but I hope not. And I feel like it won't. There were so many out there, just every day during the week, different times of the day. So it is a weird gap between playing with friends and playing an event. And I just think that takes time, and eventually we'll get to where more women want to step up and play events. But I think there's a lot here that will slowly grow the sport.
Well, and I feel like being the big metro area that it is out in Phoenix, you kind of alluded to it. There's some women that may not want to leave their course or their area, or maybe there's a legitimate concern because it takes an hour to get to the other side of town. But as it continues to travel and rotate, hopefully more people will warm up to the idea of like, oh, hey, you came and played in our area. Now we're going to come play in your area, and that camaraderie. And I know Jen from the Dolls here in Wisconsin and the Wisco Disco and the women's league here, they kind of have that same mentality throughout the winter. They travel to different cities, once a month or so during the winter months, and they have anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30 women that are all traveling to a major area within Wisconsin. And it seems like that's a really good mix of kind of uniting everyone, saying, hey, come and be here, and we're going to host you. This is our neck of the woods, but we're going to host you. And it seems to be really successful.
Right. And we have already talked to the women of Flagstaff and Tucson
Awesome.
that they want to do like a different town against other town, or at least just all get together and play rotating cities. So there's been some talk about that already. So it's pretty exciting. I have not been to either cities to play yet, so I'm excited.
Wow. Yeah, gorgeous. I think of Flagstaff 2003, 2005, the Worlds taking place, AM or Pro Worlds up there. Absolutely gorgeous. So speaking of throwing, tell us about your distinct differences going from a place like Oklahoma and you being famous, truly famous for being the longest women's thrower of all time, but going from a place like Oklahoma to then throwing in these desert-like conditions, and maybe you just mentioned you haven't been necessarily in the elevation of like Flagstaff, but some of these desert-like conditions, do you notice a difference? Are the discs flying any different for you?
Not really, except for there's no wind.
Oh, you're saying that's useful?
It's just different. I enjoy playing in the wind. I like to use it to my advantage a lot of the times, but it's just weird that there's no wind. When it just seemed like there was wind every day in Oklahoma. So it's still, you step outside and it just feels fake sometimes because it's just like perfect weather with no wind. So that's something to get used to. And then the first time I stepped out to one of the desert courses and there's no grass, that was a little different. But I haven't hit a cactus yet or no rattlesnakes. So it's pretty much the same.
Well, and to be fair, I think of some of the differences being, you just mentioned the lack of wind and the lack of grass. There might be a few less trees. And then, so now instead of playing around as many trees, you may have to just play differently and account for things like skip and dirt and sometimes maybe even rock or other things. I mean, there's quite a stark contrast between the two areas.
Well, I haven't played a lot of the mountain courses, but Sholo, was pretty good elevation on the bluff. So hopefully I'll get to play a few more elevated courses because we were definitely flat in Oklahoma. So.
All right. So speaking of Sholo and we gave you all of these accolades last week. We were super excited, and this certainly isn't to bring that down necessarily. But
what a downer.
We were. I was informed. You and I and a few of our other amazing people we were joined with on Friday night. We were having dinner, and I kind of got the lowdown after we just talked up the greatest women's round of all time. It sounds like there might have been a little clerical error, I guess, is how we could word this. And you had readily admitted, you said that doesn't sound or feel right. It was a good round, but it wasn't 1062 rated. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know what a 1062 rated round feels like.
You'd have some idea, though.
I bet if you threw one, you would know.
Yeah.
I know I left multiple strokes out there. So like I was telling you, I just feel like that 1062, when I walk off the course, I should just be amazed at myself and how well I played and performed. And I did the best I could do, possibly. I didn't leave anything out there. And I played an awesome round. I mean, I played a great round. I hit multiple strings of birdies. And it was windy. We just didn't have the snow. And I haven't heard back like a confirmed of what's doing, but they are investigating to make sure. I assume that they accounted for snow on the day I played the course too. So that's the only thing I think that is different. The scores are right. Everything is put in correctly. But there still might be some adjustments.
Okay. Well, and certainly, as you said, it clearly sounds like it was a really good round. It was a treacherous round. It was legitimately a painful round in some ways with all the conditions and the things you dealt with. But as you said, it didn't quite feel like it should be quite that high. But
yeah, but ratings are weird.
That too.
I played awesome, and you have a low rating, and vice versa. So I've never figured it out anyway. So. Yeah.
I mean, you can't get too hung up on them. They are interesting, and they're a great snapshot on any given, I'll say, day or time period of maybe of a few months or something. But if you live and die by ratings, well, then you're gonna lead a very roller coaster life. Let's put it that way. All right, so let's then segue right into this weekend's action, though. The PLO. I think it was my third or fourth time, and it's just such an amazing event. So many great people, all hands on deck, caddies and sponsors, and just so many considerations. We're going to leave the one. I want to leave the one surprise off of Memorial Hole 17, the special little expose you and I did. We're going to keep that one a secret for the video release. But they just do so many amazing things to treat the women above and beyond any other weekend, any other situation. How does it feel for you?
I think was the total 450% payout.
Yeah, on average across the board. There was a little delay in some of the payouts on Saturday night after the event, and essentially Pete Ulibari, who was helping Jamie and Michael, Pete kind of made an announcement to the world, to everyone out there saying, hey, guys, we got everything taken care of, but it's going to be a little longer because Stacy just said we're going to give away even more. So they had to essentially recalculate everything because she came along and said, let's dump a whole bunch more money into the various purses. And I mean, if there's one reason to wait a little longer at an award ceremony, it's because they want to
People are
give you
getting
more
money.
So, yeah, a crazy payout. What was it like as you showed up, and like you said, just moved here 3 months ago to then show up and have this be kind of a hometown event for you now?
It's an incredible feeling. I've been playing for almost 20 years now. So anytime you go to a course and there's that many women out there sharing the game that you love, at the same time, it was awesome.
When you were done, you wrapped up the victory. We'll say pretty handedly. You had a large margin of strokes after the first round. You maintained, and then you played really well during the second round. But then also your daughter was out there, and there was a conversation the night before the event as to where she should be playing, what division, and what did you arrive at? How did you and her have that conversation for what division should she play in, and how do you feel like that went?
Yeah, so she had only really played women's global events in junior divisions. And so I didn't really know a rating for her, but her game the last couple of weeks has just improved greatly. And so we were deciding between rec and intermediate, and I just felt like, she should play up. Just like I always tell women all the time, they'll ask me when they should move up. And I've always said, you play up, you're going to play better, typically. And just get used to playing on that higher level, and it'll kind of push you to play harder. And so we put her in intermediate, and turns out she could have tied, I think, for the win in advance. So she did.
Wow. Awesome. How exciting is that as a fan, but also, of course, as a mother? How exciting is that?
It was better than the trophy I got, by far. I probably kind of lost focus the last couple holes. She was crossing, and I just wanted to watch her finish. I wish you could do both, and that's going to be a big struggle in the future, I'm sure. Do I want to play, or do I want to go caddy or watch her? So I've been teasing her already. She graduates next year. Mother-daughter tour, who knows?
Yeah, well, so here I'll think ahead a little bit. Here's my solution. Next time, you get, especially at this event, next time I hand off my spare camera to your son, and then he goes and he films her round.
They'd love that. That's perfect.
There you go. Easy peasy.
All right.
Well, we're gonna have to teach him to edit because I can't edit even more, but we'll get it covered one way or another. That's pretty awesome. What are your plans? As I know it's kind of the off season, and you just talked a little bit about playing more golf, but what do you foresee as your plans moving into 2019's golf season?
Of course, the start of the season is on the West Coast, so I'll hit them. And then still trying to get settled into a full-time position here. So I can't really say how many I'll be traveling. Integris back in Oklahoma, the hospital I worked for, were so amazing on allowing me to take off and travel and play. I did go right back Monday mornings to work. The longest one, when you were mentioning that, was from when I went to Solitude. So it was like a 22-hour drive, and I worked Monday. So probably nothing crazy like that, but hopefully my new employer will allow me to take off to travel to most of the big events still.
Well, and like you said, it kicks off perfectly on that West Coast. If you wanted to find yourself over there, even in California for the Wintertime Open, if you start there, or if you wait the next weekend, find yourself in Vegas, and then a few days later, you're right there in your home course or home area of Scottsdale. That's quite a little swing right off the bat if you want it, which is pretty cool.
I'm excited for it. I want to still a little bit more practice. My game is it was a good break to take off and not think about golf for a little bit. So, but I'm still, you saw, I still need to work on my game. I'm slowly getting my confidence back in putting. Mentally, it's the hardest part of the game. And so that's what I'll be working on all winter, is just getting my confidence back up and enjoying playing golf again.
we talked about it a couple of times, and you just briefly mentioned an employer. What? How do those prospects look for you? I know you and I had an offline conversation. Are things getting dialed in? And what is your job for those who may not already know, or what would be your dream job?
Oh, dream job.
Okay, one at a time here.
I'm a physical therapist assistant, and so I was had done like 12 years of outpatient rehab with sports medicine, and then recently the last 5 years went to home health care, so I could take off and travel and play more golf. So I'm hoping to get back into that here. I have some prospects with a company, Athletico, who helps with the Cubs train here. So maybe I could get on working with the Cubbies. We'll see. That would be a dream job. So working with athletes, but it's just harder in that setting to take off more. So still trying to juggle that. I'm working PRN for a couple companies right now and just kind of piecing together a schedule. So hopefully it'll be full-time, settled in soon, and know when I can take off and where I can go.
Yeah, it's incredible to see how much golf. Obviously, there's more and more of it. The tours continue to forge forward, and I think they're strengthening and getting bigger. My question goes back to this year, for instance, with you not physically there. How much do you follow along? Do you kind of mentally take a break from observing it and checking things, or are you still a pretty dedicated fan, from a distance?
I'm a pretty big fan.
Okay.
We were cheering on little Paige, to win. That was incredible to watch. Same thing, mother-daughter thing. You have to shed a few tears with her mom watching her daughter win that. So definitely was watching that, watching Worlds, watching the big events, maybe not the entire time, we stay pretty busy, but definitely following along and seeing my friends do well and what's going on.
Yeah, it's we're seeing. I keep thinking back to the Pro Tour specifically. That's the one I'm typically most involved with. We're just seeing more women on the road, full-time or close to full-time, and thinking about where we were 5 or 8 or 10 years ago. And it's a huge difference. And I feel like that's exactly, I'll say, Steve Dodge's vision of let's find a tour, let's find the means to get more people, men and women, out on the road. Maybe it's for a 5 or a 6 event swing. Maybe it's for all 10 or 11 events, but let's get people on the road to find a sustainable tour and a way of making it happen. And I think we're getting closer to that reality. Of course, that along with mixed in, and working and collaborating with the national tour and then the majors, there's truly a cohesive tour. That doesn't sound like that's necessarily a full-time gig in your plans, but it still has to be exciting. You've been around disc golf for quite a few years. Pretty exciting to see, isn't it?
It's incredible to watch. Yes, it's sad I won't be involved in that every weekend, but on the flip side of it, I don't know if I want to be.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. And I watch them at the end of the year. Lisa, for instance, started out so awesome. You could just see, I felt like she was getting tired. That's exhausting being on the road. I think this was her first full year on the road every day, living city to city. So I can see them getting exhausted. And it's just, I don't know. I love home. We're just busy all the time. It's just it doesn't interest me, but I love the golf and I want to get out there as much as possible and play them, but I would never, unless I retire at like 60 and go on tour. Hopefully by then the Masters field will be huge and I can do that. But yeah, it's a hard life, but it's incredible to watch those that do it. It's amazing to watch them get out there week after week because it's hard on them. It's hard on everything.
Well, and as we were transitioning into bringing you on the show, the quick question I had for Johnny, and it's been posed by a number of people, and you may have heard Johnny giving his quick take on it. What's yours? Should the I'll throw in both the Pro Tour and the National Tour. Neither of those tours, by design, focus on or feature or offer even offer Masters divisions. Do you feel like either of those tours should?
Yes. Is that like respect your elders?
Okay.
Most of those that play, I mean, they taught us how to play. Just because they're not playing in the open division, I don't feel like they shouldn't be showcased. Same with payout, that got brought up a lot with FPO being equal, with the MPO, well, Masters should be equal as well if you look at it that way. And that was brought up a couple of times. So I'm a pretty equal person. So I like to keep it fair between all of them. So yeah, I'd love to see them out there.
Well, I think a bigger question is equal fair and is fair equal?
No.
Now, do you feel the same? And I'm going to poke on you just a little bit. Do you feel the same with regards to the senior tour in the PGA or any other, the Masters version of the professional bowling tour or any other professional sport that has a definite age break that seems like it is a secondary or even a tertiary concern? Do you think they should always be equal, getting the same recognitions?
I mean, clearly they don't get the following. So, I mean, that's where it lies, and I'm sure that's why, Steve Dodge and them have cut out the Masters, because one, you open up spots for the MPO and FPO. And so those are spots that they can fill, and people, want to watch typically your open players. So I'm sure it's the same in all other sports. You're going to get the biggest draw to the open fields. But they should, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to end up having to do like separate courses on big events like that to keep them there. It's going to be hard to watch everybody, just like not
Sure.
get to watch my
And
dog. There's so much golf. We're going to want to watch it all now.
He should be offering junior division, so we focus on the new young bucks of the sport.
I think I would almost rather see a separate tournament in the area, maybe blessed by the Pro Tour, so to speak. Say, hey, guess what? We're full here up at the Pro Tour, but we have the Masters and maybe a junior or an amateur. Have a separate, maybe a B or a C tier event in the area as close as possible for a lot of these events. That is a Pro Tour sanctioned event, so to speak, instead of PDGA, or it could be both. But and kind of have that roll down that way, as opposed to including them in the Pro Tour event.
Yeah, I worry, and again, we'll get on this a little later, but I worry when you do stuff like that, it's almost as if you're setting it up to be secondary, so it's going to come across as secondary.
Yeah.
So then the question is, should you even do it at all? And
it would have to be the same level. It would have to be, if this is an A tour or NT, theirs is as well.
Sure.
But I mean, there's only so many holes on a golf course, so there definitely would have to utilize other courses.
And there's only so much money and only so many media crews and only so many people that
And that's
care.
what I'm saying, is that if there's only so many holes on a course, if they're not on your course anyway, then what does it matter if they're part of your event versus another event? If you're not playing the same course, you're not really featuring them, ultimately they are going to be a lower tier, a second tier attraction. What I'm saying is that you could bring in a secondary event to attract more players.
Sure.
So if
that's a goal.
If that's your goal, if you want to attract more disc golfers, hey, offer a 2 or a 1 or 2 day event to get them in the area to do the festival, to come spectate, to do all these things, and maybe draw them a little more that way. That's all I'm thinking. But
yeah,
I don't. My personal opinion is if you can't feature them to the extent that you do the Pro and the FPO, the MPO and the FPO, then you're right. You're setting them up for failure. So don't put them as part of your event. Have them be a separate kind of thing. And it's 2 different ways to look at it.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, that's how we feel like. I mean, that's exactly how the the national tour, so to speak, is set up. The national tour, and maybe a lot of people don't realize, the national tour offers and recognizes MPO and FPO. And if there are any other divisions at that event, I'll use Vegas as an example, the Pro Masters, the Pro Grandmasters, men and women, and all those other
event.
Those are technically a separate event that are all A tiers. And so, and then on the Pro Tour side of things, they simply don't offer an MPM division. So, anyway, interesting conversation.
Is the sport going to get so big that we have to have, multiple courses just for MPO?
Yeah.
So it may be the fact that not only just for our masters or women, just for the open men as well.
Yeah, and looks like we may have.
Oh, she's back.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. You froze for a second, and you were saying there might be the need for multiple. I guess that continues to be a philosophical question: is do we have enough resources right now and assets right now to fully fund and support the two main divisions? And if we go and stretch that even further, are we going to water down everything? So
I don't know if I cut out, but what I was saying was, like, if the sport grows so much to where we just need more courses just for the MPO alone. So I don't know if that cut out.
Yeah, and we may
grow the sport. So.
Yeah, and is that hopefully a good problem to have? I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Continues to be resources, and I think that's the ultimate question: is who what are the resources? Are we going to water them down? Are there enough? Because some people would say, let's, as you just mentioned before Jen came on, was maybe we need to tighten up or button up or address some of the resources we currently don't have enough of. This would further water them down and stretch them out. And anyway, so anything else that we've haven't hit on? As I think about your season this last year, and again, you were a little bit quieter, and I think we know what we're going to do for you next year. We have to ask, is it fair to ask about? Oh yeah, we have to ask about contracts. Have you been courted? Have you signed? Have you re-signed? Are you trying to stretch out to show off your end of a shirt? What? Okay. Any news?
I think that's a clue.
Okay. Well, she's under contract till the end of this year. What do we got? Come on, spill it.
And fake. There's some drama, but no.
You want me to make something up? I will.
I mean, that's fine.
All right.
Jen Allen going to Hanes t-shirts. That's what she was really getting at. It's a Hanes t-shirt.
So you've been sponsored by Innova for how many years?
3.
Okay. And next year, 2019, has there been any handshakes, hugs, or contracts signed, anything like that for 2019?
Oh, I think she wants sponsored.
All right. Michaela's trying to get in on it.
Michaela said she's going to sponsor me.
Oh, wow. That's very nice of her. So for you?
I don't plan on going anywhere. I've thrown Innova for about 20 years now. So it's what I know. It's what I like. I'm happy.
All right. Well, if anything changes.
But we can, I don't know. There's probably a new disc out there, new company that maybe I just haven't met yet.
Well, and that's I'm going to be fair, I think you got to play your cards right. I mean, if you haven't re-signed, you could say I've been very happy with Innova, and I'm excited to see what 2019 has to bring. Let's play a little hardball there.
Yeah.
Don't make it too easy for them. What's that?
Plan. I have big plans for 2019. So.
Okay.
Speaking of 2019, and I'm not exactly sure on the timetables of what this happens, but I was just thinking just the other day about Big D in the desert. What is the status of that? Do you plan on going back out there this year, next year? I thought it was every other year, wasn't it? Or they do that every year?
Have one?
You tell us.
I don't know. I figured
we're not invited.
I don't throw nearly as far as you.
Yeah.
They're not calling me to come out there.
No.
Whereas if they might be saying, "Hey, Jen, you want to make a run at that record again?"
I think I don't know. I feel like Wiggins' record can't be broken. So maybe that has him on the back burner. I haven't heard any mention.
Okay. All right.
We're asking you here.
Yeah, you're the one that I was hoping would have a little bit more information than us, because I haven't seen anything on social media. I haven't seen anything anywhere. And I hope that I had said it before, that I hope that Wiggins' monster throw, wind-assisted throw, I'll say, doesn't kill the event. Because I think they may want to look at saying, okay, we're going to have two different records. We're going to have a sub 40-mile-an-hour record and a upper 40-mile-an-hour record, or something along those lines to keep this tradition, so to speak, to keep this event moving along. Because there are other, it's not, I mean, there's more to the distance, the Big D in the Desert, than just the men, so to speak. There's,
Right.
juniors, there's women, there's all sorts of things. So I was hoping you had heard anything, but clearly you haven't heard anything either. So maybe we'll hear something later.
It is the duty of our guest to know way more than we do, Jen.
It's obligation.
Come on.
I know right afterwards they had talked about trying to get an indoor to have it out, that one. I will remind you, I did not throw the day when there was like a 40-mile-per-hour wind.
Correct. And
You threw the day before, right?
Yeah.
Was when you set the record, or day one? Okay.
Yeah. It was like 18 miles per hour.
Okay.
so you still have the sub 40-mile-an-hour championship in my mind distance record. We're just waiting for the above 40.
So for those who maybe aren't up to speed and need a refresher, what disc did you throw? What weight was it? And what's the exact record?
The disc was a Star Wraith. I think it was a 149 or 152 weight. And the record was 500. 568.5. Mixed them.
Little dyslexia in your favor. That's fine. An extra 100 feet.
Just pick the biggest number, put that one first.
Yeah, that's a good idea. No, awesome.
Well, that's my new goal.
There you go. And that was actually my next question is, so that record, that's fine and neat. You throw it really far. When you're thinking about your legacy as a player, as a competitor, do you see yourself wanting to best that record? Do you have a different title or record in mind in terms of maybe an event? Like what is next on that bucket list or on that disc golf goal list?
Well, throwing in the desert was totally different. So, and they, Simon and Jeremy and all of them were saying, the first time probably isn't your best time. And I think Double G and they got to see that. And I will kind of defend them on his record on the wind again, because people were like, oh, it's so easy because it was windy. I will say again, it was so hard for them I didn't even attempt to get out of the trailer. Like it was hard to stand. But there was probably only 3 or 4 long drives that day in that wind. So it's tough. It's tough just throwing there in general. It's totally different than just up the road in Vegas. It's a totally different flight. So I did want to try it again right afterwards, having some experience. And of course I wanted 600 feet. So that was my goal. Who knows if we'll get to do it again. So, but I did want to get 600.
Okay, so
before I get old and I can't do it.
You spoke of it a while ago, a little bit ago. You said you've been throwing for roughly 20 years. Your PDGA numbers in the 15,000s. How were you introduced to the sport? Because that was, I'll say, back in the time when Johnny V and I were also, somewhere in that neighborhood introduced to the sport. How about yourself?
My ex-husband.
Okay. And you guys went out and played locally, and at that point you said you wanted to get into competitions and then sign up for the PDGA, and it's history from there?
It all just kind of happened. I'm not one to just watch. And so it was kind of right when we met. I went out with the local guys there in Norman and just grabbed a disc and started playing well, as well as any other athlete would, I think, just being athletic. And so I just happened to be good at it. And Worlds that year Worlds was in Kansas City. So I think Felberg and a few other ones were there in 99. And so it was so close. I played for 6 months, but went to Worlds and should have won it. Kind of got sick of playing. I'd never played so much golf in my life. That's when we played like 6 days of golf.
And it was hot, like disgustingly,
hot.
deadly hot that week. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it hooked me though, and I pretty much went pro after that and been playing ever since. So.
Very cool. So now that you're so far removed from all those Okies, what's the wildest or craziest Oklahoma disc golf related story? And maybe it directly involves you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe I think of a Mitch Mack. I think of some of the other people that I know from Oklahoma, but a Kevin McCoy and any crazy Oklahoma stories that you're somewhat one step removed from now? Any one crazy event story or person or situation?
I mean, we have lots of crazy memories.
Okay.
Nothing
Any that are
popped in my head.
shareable?
Do what?
Any that are shareable here in a...
Yeah, I mean, just the weather is always
Sure.
crazy. I can't think of anything just totally crazy. I might, okay, speaking of Kevin McCoy, so he used to live across from McClure.
Yep.
Have you been
Yep.
to the Tulsa?
Yep.
Okay. So it wasn't his house at the time, but we crashed there and then woke up to play a doubles event the next day. I might have grabbed 2 shoes and were like 2 different shoes.
Okay.
Might have been beer pong the night before. I don't know.
Okay. That sounds. I think of my time in Oklahoma during the Amateur Worlds 2006. Yeah, 2005 was Flagstaff. So Am Worlds 2006, I was a marshal down there working with the PDGA, and I spent most of my week with Mitch Mack. And if there is a fun character to hang out with for a week out at the course, Mitch Mack comes to mind. So I can only imagine.
Favorite too, so.
What's that?
Michaela's chiming in. That's her absolute favorite as well.
All right. Well, that makes perfect sense then. So maybe one of the last questions. Speaking of Oklahoma, Arizona, Arizona? How do you land there? How do you pick that? You move. You said you grew up. You lived in Oklahoma, and then you guys touched down and set up shop in Arizona.
Why not Wisconsin?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, we've been asked this, I think, every day for the first 2 months we were here. Why'd you come?
Mm-hmm. You're not quite old enough like to move out to Fountain Hills or anything. I mean, I can see it when people are in their golden years, but you're certainly not there. So, yeah, what brought you to Arizona?
Close. Yeah, I'm close. A lot of reasons. Between the kids' allergies and the wind, literally, I just was getting sick of the wind. It hurt their allergies. We do miss the tornadoes, though. So that's
yeah, why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, the monsoons here are they're nothing. They don't have anything. But the weather's gorgeous. We love to be outside. And so it's a perfect place for that the kids can stay outside and play every single day from sun up to sundown and after. It's just perfect. We love to travel and do things together. So we're like 2 to 4 hours from anything, from the mountains to the beach. So that's an awesome thing as well. Hopefully my parents will, someday want to come out here and retire to the retirement community. And so, I mean, there was just a lot of different reasons. Hopefully a better paying job. So just a lot of little reasons.
Well, and like you said, having that area being, of course, the mecca of spring training too, and sports and athletics and everything else going on there. I think they have a football team and other stuff and colleges.
Couple college teams.
Yeah, they got all sorts of stuff.
Sports team, baseball teams that come and train here in the spring. So.
Yeah, very cool. All right, anything you want to share before we let you go? Great time for shout-outs, sponsors, all that kind of stuff. Anything you want to share? Let's hear it.
Just hi to everyone in Oklahoma. We miss you. We love you. We think about you all the time. Ready for everyone to come visit, and hopefully they'll fall in love with it here too and want to all move here. So.
All right.
And I was going to say thanks, Innova, Grip, Adidas, Deker. It's been an awesome year. We definitely couldn't do it without sponsors. And so hopefully the whole sport, you guys, us, everyone will continue to get more and more sponsors that will help everyone continue to do what they love to do, including you.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep at it, and we love the stories, the insights, and everything else that you and the rest of our pros share with us. And there's plenty of growth and plenty of excitement. Just talking to Dustin and Hannah a few minutes ago, and just so many things internationally. And when you move from Oklahoma to Arizona, those are some big moves. And we love seeing it happen. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations on a great performance this weekend. The video, I actually hammered out the entire second round. It's ready to go. It just needs some commentary. So that will be releasing super soon as well, along with a lot of the other videos I have. So we're excited to get it out there. And thanks again for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys.
All
Thanks,
right. Have a
Jen.
good night. See you, Jen. Again, Jennifer Allen, your PLO champion this weekend.
And still women's distance record holder.
Well, I mean, she's sitting in a good position. If they don't get around to holding somewhere for her to break someone else to break the record, but clearly it's going to be a huge task that we may or may not see anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think some questions or some suggestions were coming in on the line. Is that what we have? That we're on the line? Yeah. Regarding maybe Evelina or someone internationally. I think of watching a Kristen Tatar throw this year and getting to know her and watch her game.
Mm-hmm.
She clearly has lots of power. We already know that your Paige Pierce and your Katrina Allen clearly have plenty of power, but that raw distance power shot is something that she's dialed in better than anyone.
I was going to say the exact same thing, in that some of the other women you see on the course might have a better golf form to help control the disc, maybe a little bit better than Jen. But when it comes to just the sheer force and power that she throws with, I don't know if there's anyone that is close to her. She crushes plastic, and that is an amazing skill to have. And when she can dial it in on the course as well, she's very dangerous.
Well, and speaking of just that, it'll be interesting as Michaela, potentially her daughter, gets more and more serious about it, seeing where she can take it. And clearly she has a great mentor and trainer in her mom. It'd be great to see her maybe step things up as well. I think I overheard someone saying, like, Jen just couldn't have been more excited this weekend because her daughter is throwing the disc so much more flat than she has in the past. And as we know, as soon as you get the nose down on a disc as opposed to having it up at an angle, that's where you can generate just so much more distance. So it'll be interesting to watch her continue to grow and develop as a player as well. So very cool. All righty. So I'll quickly just kind of circle back around on my final thoughts regarding the suggestion of the Pro Masters.
We don't need your thoughts.
Yeah, you do. You need them. And I
I
know
mean-
somebody that's begging for them. No, and that's why it's going to be quick, because they're going to somewhat echo yours, and I know I kind of interjected them in talking to Jen. We just don't have the resources. Right now,
And even if we have I'm going to interrupt you.
That
sorry.
too.
Even if we had the resources, if the Pro Tour was flush with money, what's to say that it should go to the Masters? Why not? Because there's always going to be the argument, well, you have all this money, let's spread it out. Or, hey, you have all this money, let's pump up the two top divisions. There's always that argument.
yeah, and then of course, to be fair, would you say, well, it's going to go to Pro Masters? We're going to focus on Pro Masters. Is that Pro Masters men and Pro Masters women? I mean, you're going to want that equality discussion to take place at that point. And as one of my main points, rebuttals to the whole idea of saying, no, it's not what we need to worry about, besides just the resources, is right now, all the really good Pro Masters players are welcome to come play and compete every single weekend anyway. Nobody's excluding them right now. We're just not necessarily catering to their own division for them, but they're not being excluded. And we see some pretty damn good ones out there. You see a Felberg, a Patrick Brown,
Johnny McRae,
a Barry Schultz, not so much, but it could be a Brian Schweberger, any one of those guys. And
shots fired at Schwebby.
No, I mean, just we don't see him.
Yeah, sure, that's how you want to say it.
No, I don't know if he's played in a Pro Tour event.
I don't
which
think he
makes
has.
my point. But yeah, all of those types of players are welcome every single weekend. There's no restriction from them joining. So if they want to show up, if they want to compete and be on that big stage, and no better example than Johnny McRae. He clearly proves he can hang with and be right there as he finishes in the top all the time with these young guns. I mean, honestly, I'd take it a step further and say, would it be boring if we created or focused on a Pro Masters division and then Johnny McRae runs away with it by 10 every weekend? I mean, with the way he plays, that wouldn't be inconceivable.
Not at all.
Anyway, it's a question to be had. I'll emphatically shoot it down and say no.
Not yet.
But what I said, and not only not yet, here's my even further point to it is,
even further.
I would be the first guy to say I will gladly support in any way, media or otherwise, I will support a Pro Masters tour on its own.
Yeah.
Even if the women were to split off or there was some kind of a natural split that was agreeable by everyone. Someone came along and said, you know what? Let's end all of this, one versus the other, or not enough this, not enough that. If someone came along and said, I would like to support or fund and or administer and take on an entire women's tour exclusively for women, I would be the first guy to shake a hand, pat on the back, make a donation, offer to help cover, support in whatever way. Like, yeah, I would be good to support those efforts. Somebody can step up and then go do it.
I don't disagree.
Go
with
for
that.
it.
Yeah.
You're the man.
No.
You do it.
Not my style.
No. Okay. What is your style?
Not sure yet. I'll let you know when I find it.
All right. Do we have anything else in news before we move on to what could be an after show?
Yeah.
Anything else pertinent?
Pertinent is
okay.
Pertinent is
all
relative.
right. I realized that was
really relative. I think we would be remiss not to talk just a little bit about it. One of our pros sticking his foot in his mouth just a little bit.
Oh gosh. Which one? Pro or Pro Masters or Pro Grandmasters? Pro Women. Pro what kind of pro?
Open player.
Open player.
Will Shoestrick. There obviously this week there's been a lot of talk about Paul McBeth, about changing sponsors and this and that, and Will just I think today or yesterday coming back from a fantastic tour of China, promoting the sport, pushing the PDGA out there, teaching, running an event. I mean, the PDGA website, again, I know we talked about it last week. If you want some information about the entire China tour, please go ahead and look it up. The PDGA Twitter, Steve Hill, made a post about Paul McBeth and the Innova thing, and Will, I don't want to say he lashed out, but he kind of made a post saying, hey, more or less, we're doing a lot of cool stuff in China. Why is this getting the coverage? Unfortunately, what he didn't realize was that the PDGA had made a tweet about it earlier, I think the day or two prior, and the PDGA website had a bunch of information about.
Yeah, as it's cycling through right now, I see 3 out of the first 5 articles. Those are just the ones on the front page. 3 out of the first 5 are related to this China trip. Okay,
and so rightfully so, Will I think had to eat a little bit of crow on that one, and I don't know if he's said anything since. I haven't seen anything, but there was a lot of people piling on him, railing on him, and I will say I can understand the frustration that Will would feel when you are doing things that are promoting the sport, growing the sport, as we were just saying, and maybe you don't feel like you're getting the attention that something like rumors that Paul McBeth is. I mean, it wasn't even a rumor at that point. Paul McBeth was leaving Innova. It was posted. I can understand the frustration there. I just think maybe Will needed to step it back one step, or just swallow the pride just a little bit. So
I did not see of said post or tweets, but certainly it's funny that I knew that a lot of this. I knew that the coverage was out there regarding China and the fact that they were doing stuff over there. Of course, it's very exciting stuff to have taking place, and one would even say, surprised maybe that we didn't see some of it taking place earlier. And I know it's some resources, it's probably a lot of drive. There's probably some red tape or some other significant politics possibly even at play. So I think it's great to see that it had happened. And on the flip side of that, though, you have to say, for someone like our organization, the PDGA, to make mention of the number one player in the world who has had a 12-year sponsor, who has won 4 world titles, to make mention of that, I don't think shows any form of bias or even fanboyism or anything. It is pretty damn big news to know that he is not continuing his relationship. I mean, you can love or hate Paul McBeth, but it's big news, just as if Aaron Rodgers was traded to a team or Michael Jordan or LeBron James or whomever. When you're talking about some of that, it's pretty big news.
Yeah, and so Will's exact post was funny how you share this, but nothing about disc golf growing in China makes sense. And he tagged PDGA and Paul McBeth in that on his Instagram. And rightfully so, someone posted the PDGA right after that saying how they tweeted about how the PDGA International Director, Brian Honinger, has teamed up with Prodigy Disc to bring disc golf to the world's most populous country. Check out more about the journey below, ... So there was posts, this and that, and I'm sure Will, like I said, I'm sure Will realizes his mistake at this point, and there's no point in piling on. I just felt that it was a big ripple in the disc golf this week as far as things that are going on. There's other talks about players. Someone's talking about Bradley Williams, how he was apparently spotted throwing Discraft discs.
What?
And I don't know if that's a rumor. I don't know if that really happened. I'd seen something about that, but on one of the web boards. But
I've seen Bradley Williams do a lot of things.
Yes, I have too. And I don't know. We don't know anything about that, to be honest. At least I don't. Maybe Terry does. Terry, sometimes that? Terry has some insider info he doesn't share.
What are you talking about? Yeah, interesting. So also interesting when I think about the relationship or the tweets or something that possibly unfold. I think it's great to see Will. Clearly, there's also a tie, and here's where maybe some fanboyism can either ring true or a little louder one than another. Someone who may be anti-Prodigy or a big fan of Prodigy, of course, there's going to be bias there too. It's great for our sport to see it get this conversation with the most populous country in the world. Some may say, yeah, that's great. That's great for Prodigy. Of course, they're going to have a more significant vested interest in, furthering that agenda as well, as they should. So, yeah, well, I mean, these are all interesting, but probably good growing pains that we're having as we're moving forward. So, all right.
Other than that, there's not a lot of new disc golf information. We're running into that slow period time where all the talk is about players and contracts these days.
One of the other quick side notes, it's not so much a side note, but it looks as if some registration has become available for the 2019 Dynamic Disc Glassblown Open.
Is that the overseas registration that opened up? Because I believe they open up overseas registration first.
Yeah, so it looks like this is for the A tier that I'm seeing. It shows 30 players are registered out of 1,432. So I'm not exactly sure. That again, that's just the A tier portion. And if I go to what I would believe is, so it says international players, as you were just saying, November 6th at 7 p.m. Central for international players. November 6th, 7 p.m. Central, the 2018 spectator badges. November 12th, all women's divisions. November 13th, all age-protected professional male divisions. November 14th, recreational division. November 15th, intermediate. November 19th, advanced division, and November 20th, age-protected amateur male divisions. No, I'm not repeating any of that. I didn't realize it was going to be such a long list. But there's your list. Go out. Obviously, Disc Golf Scene has it. Check it out there and see when you're eligible. I would be willing to bet the number one complaint or frustration regarding registration is...
It fills up too fast?
Besides that is, dude, it's not letting me register. And it's because you're technically not eligible at whatever time. But it says right here, intermediate division, November 15th. Yeah, and it's November 13th, and you have an intermediate rating.
And for those of you that remember, the spectator badges that you purchased last year, I believe, allow you an earlier registration this year. So Ryan Pilcher says he was the 6th person to register.
That a boy, Ryan.
Get on that, Ryan.
Well, speaking of getting on it, Ryan won some discs from me last week. Ryan, they haven't shipped yet. The plan is tomorrow. At least I'll say that. But they will ship soon. All right. Can tell Terry's been a TD a time or 50. Yes.
Closer to 250.
Yes, a little bit closer to that. And I have some other interesting stuff off. And speaking of TDs, I am assistant TDing the Cold Turkey 13
from Australia.
In all seriousness, Tom McManus is your TD. I used Disc Golf Scene for the first time ever to help him set up registration the other day. And sure enough, it is already like 30% full. So if you're going to play 2 days after Thanksgiving.
I'm not.
At Silver Lake in southeastern Wisconsin. I will not be present this year. I'll be in Australia, as you may have heard last week here on the show. But Tom McManus is at the helm, getting to get it all under control. And I'm guessing it's going to sell out probably in the next week, which means things will run even smoother. Just 80 spots available, foursomes for 20 holes, all on Saturday. It's not split days. Go out and get registered. Ryan Pilcher, also one of the first to register for that one.
Ryan's good like that.
Yeah, he is.
I'd love to play, but I will be up north, obviously, doing family stuff as family and family and family. So
there you go. Well,
yeah. I'm not saying where I'd rather be. I'm saying I'll be doing family stuff.
I'll be in Australia. So, all right. We can close things out in terms of an official capacity here during the regular show. It's great to get all the details that we did from Dustin and Hannah. From Zimbabwe or Zambia, correction, sorry, from their Zambia trip, and looking forward. If you want to go out and support them, there'll be some links available. Find them on eagleswingsdiscgolf.org, and that will lead you a few steps further. Johnny and I will get some screenshots posted that we're going to make those contributions. Super glad to do so. Smashbox, along with the Disc Golf Guy, each making a contribution, and we're going to cover some entry fees or whatever they're asking at that gold level. Super excited. We, of course, challenge each and every one of you to go out and support it in any way you can. They have everything from $10 to $25 to $50 to $100 to $250 levels. And if you really, truly want to grow disc golf, that's one great way to do it. We'd also like to thank Jennifer Allen for joining us. Congrats to her and her daughter and the rest of everyone that was part of the amazing PLO staff and spotters and caddies and fundraisers and just anyone that had any kind of support to go along with that event. You guys are on my radar. You're on the map. I would love to attend and help expose that event every single year because you guys do such an amazing job, and the women are treated so well. insane payouts, insane player packs, all that kind of stuff with great hospitality. I can't say enough about it. You guys are definitely awesome over there. So PLO, put it on your map. I think in the next couple of years, I'm going to be bringing at least one or both of my daughters to that event as well. Just it's a no-brainer to bring them out to Arizona in November to participate. So get out there, be part of it, or at least support it otherwise. For Johnny V and Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, this has been 220. Of course, we invite you to join us for the after show. We're going to give away some free stuff. And we'll talk about some stuff, disc golf, non-disc golf related, anything you've got to share or want to share with us. We'll be glad to do so along in the YouTube chat. We appreciate and love each and every one of you, even more so for our Patreon supporters. We love you more, and we'll tell you that. For Johnny and Terry, we'll see you next time when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SmashBoxxTV 220 After Show. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, along with Johnny V. I'm going to just start right here. I feel like my goatee is getting a little out of control as it keeps rubbing against the pop filter here. Is that what this is called?
Yeah,
this filter?
I don't hear it at all.
No,
so
you don't hear it, so it's not rubbing against the actual
I just keep
microphone.
looking at it, and let me tell you, Big Putt Bill reminded us tonight, I think it's our 4-year anniversary? 3 years?
It's our anniversary.
Anyway, it's one of our anniversaries, 3 or 4 years.
Well, it's got to be 4.
It's gotta be
2014.
Oh, yeah.
And it probably 2013. I bet you 2013 or 2012 is when I actually got everything started, technically.
Yeah, I'm talking just the podcast.
Oh.
Probably our 4-year anniversary.
I feel like that was 11/11. 11/11 of probably 2015. 2014. 11/11, 2014, I bet you was technically our anniversary.
Anyway, I don't recall looking over those first couple podcasts and seeing the number of gray hairs in your goatee.
Wow.
And
this is what you do to me.
It is getting a little outrageous.
I think I
am not even lying, Terry.
No, I know.
You're going gray before the whole world.
I know. Just think of those little
Move that
sweet
pop filter.
Those sweet little baby faces we had.
Ooh. Yeah, look at that gray. You can see it's all on my side. Go figure.
Exactly. That's the side that hears your dumbass. It's like thinking like, no. So somebody's doing some math for us. We appreciate that. Hodel Hand says 220 divided by 52, 4.23 years. Well, there's a few extras in there. Yeah, for big events, there's 1 or 2 occasional weeks where we would flat out skip, so on and so forth.
I'm not going to lie, we might have missed numbers. Who knows?
Yeah, very easily could have missed some numbers. I'll say this. I think it specifically is 11/11. I think it was an easy number to remember. Well, probably take 2 seconds here on YouTube.
I'm sure I could look.
I think our first Smashbox podcast was 11/11. And it would have been 2014 because our first year of broadcasting
we're 4 years.
would be 2014. That was our first year of like actual broadcasting live tournaments.
We're at 4 years because Bill wished us a happy birthday, happy Smashbox birthday. So
Well, we appreciate that, Bill. As always, I appreciate your support, my friend, and you spending all this time in Florida. And I was there almost 2 total weeks, and yet somehow didn't get a chance to run into you. So hopefully, one way or another, I'll see you on some side of the country. If it's got to be California, it's got to be California. One way. I'd like to run into you sometime soon, buddy. Hope you and Shetson are good.
little timestamp as of right now, it is 100% sure that the Democrats are taking the House and 100% sure that the Republicans are keeping the Senate.
Huh.
So just a little note.
So my vote did matter.
No, probably not.
Okay.
You voted for Mr. T. I don't understand how that works, but
I pity the fool. I did, and our voting location was actually changed. It's typically been at.
That's just them trying to voter suppress you.
Yes, absolutely. And then I showed up, and I'm like, I want to vote for Terry Miller as Terry Miller, and I want to vote as the disc golf guy. I clearly have the social media presence to prove that.
Did you show them both YouTube accounts?
Yeah,
and they wouldn't let you?
No, those bastards.
Son of a gun.
But no, it's always been held at a. I guess it's technically a church. It's always been held at a church that's really almost literally at the end of my road, a few blocks away. And tonight it was actually held at a different church, which was all of like 8 blocks away instead of 2. I managed to still find it and get it done. And I had to wait. I'll say this. Well, let me finish my thought. I had to wait probably 16 to 20 total minutes from the second I stepped in to the second I walked out.
A little more than me.
Which is surprising because at the other one, I never waited more than 2 minutes. However, that's only because I had the L through Z last name. A through K or through whatever. Like, literally, like, I bet you they waited. Their process took at least an hour tonight. Mine, less than 20 minutes. That was a long line for them.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Ours is just divided up by ward. So you're either in one ward if you're on one side of the street, and a ward if you're on the other side of the street, of a particular street. I think we waited not even 10 minutes. There were 3 people in line ahead of us, and one particular person was just taking longer than everybody else. So we just had to wait there. My wife and I, my 2 kids, got that whole thing done pretty quick, voted, got out of there, ran like heck.
You know, I treated the voter booth because I did an electronic one at first. All it did, I was confused. They said, "Do you want to do it electronically or right?"
You're the problem.
No, the thing is, when they said electronically, I thought I was like submitting it officially electronically. No, it just filled out my paper electronically, and then basically printed on it. And then I went and still had to submit it into a ballot box. I was under the impression it was going to be some kind of official, generated, and it would be done that way, but it wasn't. Yeah, I got confused when I was in there, though. I was like, I feel like this is how I order Panera normally, and I just hit on this button, and I had to log in. It didn't work.
Our Milwaukee, where I happen to vote, the entire public school is off on all election days now. Because
those are used?
Because so many of the schools are used as voting areas, and I think the whole mentality is, normally most of these schools are locked down, so you have to ring buzz to get in. The office will buzz you in, but when you have a voting booth, you have to let everyone in and out all the time. I mean, you can't lock it down. You can't have people buzzing in. So instead, what Milwaukee just did is says, okay, we're giving the kids off rather than having a couple random Fridays off throughout the year. We're going to for sure give them voting days off. So my kids had off today, so they hung out with my wife, and
interesting.
I just thought it is different. In today's day and age, when you can't just leave a school's door wide open. Well,
and in totally not following that thought at all, I was going to say I'm an idiot because I waited until I had essentially all day, aside from my hardcore editing that I did every minute of the day. It felt like
voted
like an idiot. I went and voted at 5:30.
Yeah. Oh, great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
I literally had all day to do it, and I went and did it at 5:30 before I ran a few other errands, and then ultimately came to this side of town. So I could have went and done it at 3 in the afternoon and been in and out in 10 seconds. So it was my fault.
Yeah, like I said, I went right before 8 a.m. I was at like 7:40 or something. So 7:30.
Either way, it's done. Interestingly enough, and this is almost all we'll talk about politics. Somebody chimed in on the board here in Wisconsin, where we live.
Mhm.
It is looks like it is down to like roughly 1,000 or 1,500-ish or so votes between Republican Scott Walker and Democrat Tony Evers.
And a lot of people know Scott Walker as he made an attempt to run for president a few years ago, and he's been.
And now, and interestingly enough, and this almost just has to beg the question, there was a recount when he won 2 or 4 years ago or whatever. There was a recount, right?
No.
Didn't they pay for a recount?
A recall.
Recall. Okay.
That's a
Sorry.
little different.
Yeah, a little different, sure. Sorry.
He was elected whatever many years ago. 2 years later, they did a recall where he was reelected, and now he is being technically elected for the third time
Yeah.
in what would normally be a 2-year span.
So it'll be interesting to see but isn't it almost a default that within a certain margin a recount always happens?
Some states,
and are we on pace for that?
I would
when
think
you're talking about 49% to 49%.
I would think so. If many states, if you're within X percent or so many thousand votes, you automatically do a recount, and or the whoever's declared the loser can request a recount at no cost. Sometimes you can request a recount and then it's charged, basically, that costs money to whomever it calls for it. So
yeah,
that's our politics for today.
It is, and this isn't quite politics, but I guess it could
It's
almost
more
be it.
civics.
Well,
It's more
in here,
civics.
yeah, and here on the fringe of that, what I would like to say, this isn't meant to be political, but I will say,
oh geez,
oh my God, let's please take the billions of dollars that are spent on the actual elections and put them to better use.
What? Wow! Whoa! Let's step that back 1 minute. Why are you?
Because
why are you going to tell people how they should spend their money? These people donate money to a PAC, to a PAC, and then that PAC then turns around usually and decides where it wants to spend money,
so that somebody else can then ultimately buy legislation. I get it.
But now, if you want to say, "Hey, people, stop donating to PACs, instead donate to other things like
anything,
Eagles, Wings, disc golf,
anything,"
that's great. But you, my friend, now I'm not saying I disagree with you on what on the money that goes into politics and elections, but as of this moment, you are telling people how they should spend their money.
I know, my classic. You know what you should do today? Today, I received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 text messages.
Oh,
7
wow.
separate text
I've received
messages
0
regarding elections. 7 of them. Not from any of my friends, even though one of them said, "Hey, it's Scott Walker," and "Hey, this is Emma. Hey, this is so and so." Like, I'm friends with these people, both from the Democratic Party and from the Republican Party. I received text messages. Obviously, all of this is has to be getting paid for somehow. Whatever. The amount of pamphlets and mail that has come to my house. And none of this is new. I mean, we're talking about the millions and millions and millions of dollars in commercials on television, radio, in all the places, Facebook, whatever. When I think about all the real problems, that our country has on either side of the aisle, all the real problems, whether it's homelessness to any other kind of anything, everything. And then
I like how you went with homelessness, and then you couldn't think of another nonpartisan one to go with.
I know. I was trying to think like well, no matter what I say, somebody's gonna equate it to a certain party.
Do I say Medicare? Do I say global warming? Do I say unemployment? Like, there's homelessness.
Science.
Everybody hates homelessness.
I know, and then I almost said something war or military based. I'm like, no, that's gonna be divisive. Like all of the things that could possibly be fixed or addressed, and here we are. I
know
the billions and billions and billions of dollars spent on politics. it is very, it's disgusting. It's also disheartening. And I know I'm not saying anything, somebody hasn't said before. It just, it maybe struck me a little harder than ever this year with the barrage of text messages, with the actual phone calls that come in,
which is great.
with the pamphlet.
I didn't get any phone calls either.
Effing paper pamphlets sent to my house. Are you kidding me? What day and age are we in that I'm getting a half dozen
You're probably
a day?
more likely to read a paper pamphlet sent to your house than you are a spam email. If I saw a spam email, I'd delete. I don't even think about it. At least a paper pamphlet, I probably look at it and go, ugh, this is garbage, and throw it away. I agree. There's
just the waste. The waste.
Yeah.
That's what disgusts me. Just the waste.
I'm with you, brother.
Anyway. All right. So I was just jokingly looking over your shoulder, and I won't even make any funny generalities as we're looking. Anyway, the question is, now screw it. I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to talk one more word being in the middle of any aisle or not. It's not even worth it. All right. So, any more conversations of sponsored players? Has there been anything else that's really come to light in the last week that truly has been unheard of or unknown?
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe that there's really been any. There's been no new information, other than the Bradley Williams rumors,
sure,
kind of popping out there just as of yesterday or today about him throwing Discraft, and that could just be him trying out other plastic for the heck of it, for all we know. That's it. I mean, there's nothing. There's been no word on Kevin Jones. There's been no word on Yuli. There's been no word on, these are all people that have been rumored to leave. There's been no new words on Paul McBeth. And again, all that could change in the 3 days till this gets released to most audio listeners. But ultimately, it is still quiet. And I think it's going to be quiet for at least another month, to be honest. We're going to be
there's going to be a lot of speculating rumors, but official announcements, you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any official announcements. I'll say this. I think, and I'm going to speculate, that Paul McBeth will be the first to confirm anything. Because we already know he's leaving Innova. So it's going to be just a matter of time. These other players, it's still 100% rumor. Now, there could be some weight behind these rumors, but it's 100% rumor that other than Kevin Jones, who we know isn't going to be with Pro Discus, they have flat out said that too, that I don't think Pro Discus USA is even really going to be an entity next year, is what I believe I heard, that they were going to be working some other things out.
Well, you just killed them if not.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Well, if they are, please, I hope that people support them. Kevin Jones could make a decision and announce it. But other than that, McBeth is really the next domino to drop.
Okay. So reading off the board, let's go to Luke from Australia. Luke says there has been multiple-time Australian champion David Bandy has been picked up by Fourth Circle Disc, Australia's first disc manufacturer. That's really exciting.
How many
circles are there?
There's 4.
There's Circle Ricky. Fourth Circle. That's an interesting. That's got to mean.
There's got to be some
other interesting tie to that. I'd love to know.
And it's funny because as soon as I only read that just a little bit when it said Fourth Circle discs, and I thought, oh, that sounds like a distributor. And then it's when he said Australia's leading disc manufacturer, so that's different. So it's actual manufacturer. I was just thinking, I'm kind of surprised we haven't really seen too much of our disc sales. Gosh, you and I were talking about this earlier, about all the different online sales companies that have come and gone, or the ones that were the big hit, like Disc Nation and Infinite Discs and what are some
Disc Golf Center.
Disc Golf Center, all these places that sell plastic, I'm kind of surprised they have not been more forward in sponsoring players, some of them. Like, how come we don't see, and I know Disc Nation was a sponsor of, I think, Nate Doss and
Val
and Avery.
Maybe, yeah,
maybe,
and or like Jay and Dez at one point, I think, because they're from there. They sponsored my video blogs. Thank you very much. Props to them for a little while.
Yeah, so I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more of that, to be honest, that we don't see more companies like that saying, oh, hey, I'm Johnny's Disc Golf Sales Center. I'm going to sponsor Paul Ulibarri and have him do that, because I think that could be
or some of those sponsoring like my video blogs. I don't know why more don't do that. I agree.
I don't know. Someone asked on the board if we know of, or JVD and Terry, do you know of or about Ben Askren? Yes, Darren. Ben Askren is right here with no. Ben Askren is obviously an MMA professional who lives in the Milwaukee area, owns 2 or 3 different gyms here that do MMA training. He does big training for a lot of actual real MMA fighters that come in and do training, like big names that are either trying to break into the scene or just are brushing up on skills. And Ben is a Discraft sponsored player that isn't really too much on the scene. He's played a couple events.
You're out of date.
Really?
Yeah. What he's talking about is Ben was recently
how he's moving over to UFC.
Yeah,
he's been traded to the UFC. Yeah, I was getting there.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think what maybe Darren was really getting at too is that. So in that trade to the UFC, I don't know if you follow him.
I followed it a little bit. I haven't seen anything in the past 2 days.
He is basically on a rampage of going out. He's been officially traded to the UFC.
It sounds so weird.
I know it's the first trade in history, I believe.
And it's like I mean, I understand they all have contracts and this and that with their particular Bellator or UFC
one or whatever.
But it's an individual sport. Like, it sounds so weird to be traded. Like,
but isn't that kind of like playing for the AFL versus the NFL? Not the AFL, sorry. The
CFL?
The CFL versus the NFL?
Yeah, and you would never see a trade like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, you would be released from your contract, and then you would go sign an NFL contract or something, or bought out. Or it's the term traded is a very weird determination in this particular instance.
Yeah, and of course, Johnny nor I know enough about MMA to any of that specifically. I just know that as after this trade, he's very much, everyone has clamored for him to be as part of the UFC, and Dana White, head of the UFC, has basically said for many years, like, in so many words, you're way too boring for us. We're not going to take you. You're not, whether you're good enough or not, I don't know, but you're definitely way too boring for us because he's not a big striker, blah, 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 and he's just this great wrestler. So he gets traded, and Ben Askren has done nothing but troll is the only word. He has actively hardcore trolled, and he is calling out by name all the individual UFC fighters, basically in so many words saying, hey, so-and-so, you kind of suck, let's go. And he's calling them out one by one on Twitter. And one of my favorite parts of this, and this has gotten me excited mainly because he's local and I know him a little bit.
We just shared a plane with him the other day.
And I shared an airplane with him a few weeks ago. But somebody showed on Twitter, Ben Askren walking through the streets of Milwaukee, and it was just a fireman. Because he is trolling every single person out there, and he's calling them all out, looking for these fights.
How old is Ben? I think he's like early 30s, right?
Probably. And a little side note, Ben Askren, before going
he's
to
34. Like, I just feel like, and please don't beat me up, Ben. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like he might be past his prime.
I don't know if I would go there.
I'm just saying, like, as an MMA fighter, like, a lot of people I see fighting, I tend to be a little bit younger, probably in their mid to early, I'd say 25 to 30. Ben's pushing almost 35 years old. And I'm not saying that dude couldn't whoop up on probably a majority of them. It just seems like he's past the premier years of his career. And I hope I'm proven wrong, because Ben's a great guy. I met him once, and he seems to be a lot of fun and really funny on social media. So I hope he does go in there and kick some ass. But it just seems like 34 feels old in MMA years to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know the sport that well, but it just feels like he's just a hair past where he would love to have been in the UFC.
Well, he is. It'll be interesting to see who he's officially, billed with or whatever, put on for a fight as he's out there calling out everyone. He was making constant jokes about how he's been blocked. Up until this point, he had been blocked by Dana White on Instagram or Twitter or both, and he basically just kept sending out the image saying like, "Hey, are you gonna, this is awkward. Are you gonna unblock me now, boss?" Because he now works for him or is underneath the UFC. So I mean, he's just been no holds barred. And Darren, obviously, 100 times more than both Johnny and I combined, but it has been really funny just watching this from a fringe. Interesting side note, before Ben went to the Olympics all those years ago, I actually had donated some discs that went to a fundraising cause that ultimately benefited him to go to the Olympics many, many years ago. He knew someone through someone that worked with somebody else that I knew or something. It was all years, obviously, before I knew him. So pretty funny. Ben, of course, yes, disc golfer, plays for Discraft. A few weeks ago, posted about his private course that he's putting up here in the Milwaukee area on his own property. And I talked to him about it, and he said it's going to be for when I host camps and have other things, and we want a non wrestling activity or team builder or fun thing to do. He said then he can have people on his property and play disc golf. So pretty cool to see. Yeah. But anyway, funky Ben Askren lives right here in the Milwaukee area for those that are into all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he's just been on a tear, and I've been genuinely entertained by how much he's just out there going after everyone.
You know what I could see, and we've seen it before. I could see Ben finishing up with his whatever UFC contract he has and going into like WWE. I mean, he's a wrestler at heart, a true wrestler, like Greco-Roman wrestler. I think he would be fun as some WWE personality.
Yeah. So good stuff. And Ben, another interesting side note to file in your data bank for a trivia question someday. There's your not so hidden hint that someday it'll get asked. Ben played in a tournament. Speaking of me being a tournament director, he played in a tournament that I ran a few years ago, the Zobel Open in Green Lake, Wisconsin, one of Wisconsin's finest courses. For many years, I ran a tournament there as a B-tier tournament, and he actually came and competed in that event, which I ran one of those years. So, and you said you met him at the Memorial.
I met him at the Memorial many years ago.
I think he finished second or something at the Memorial, or finished really well in the advanced division at the Memorial back in those days. So there you go. Some crazy stuff. All right. So, yeah, as you had asked that, Darren, I don't know if that's more or less than you really were asking for. But, yeah, we do know him and know a little bit of the story. Of course, neither of us follow MMA all too closely, though. All right. There was something else. Disc Golf Nerd had asked earlier, question, do you think Innova made their announcement at this time to sell as much McBeth plastic as possible right now? Which is an interesting question. I think I kind of posed a similar one to Paul at one point. The funny thing is,
if you wanted to clear out, let's say, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. No, I'm going to go with no.
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter when they made that announcement. They were going to sell out of it.
Sure.
But
if they made 10,000 more, if they sold 10,000 units in the last week, and then said, "Hey, let's make another 10,000."
Yes, that's different. If you're, like I said earlier, if you're
trying to liquidate,
if you're trying to maximize your profit, that's when you announce. Because you want time to say to get a general feel for the reception, like, oh, look, everybody's buying up these McBeth Destroyers, these McBeth Rock 3s, these McBeth Novas, whatever else his name is on every other disc at Innova, it feels like. And see how they sell and then go, okay, this gives us time to take this blank these pile of blank destroyers and throw his stamp on them. And so we can maximize the profit. That's one thing. But if they had a bunch of stock, they're not worried about selling it, because once that announcement was going, I think they knew everyone could guess that those discs were going to fly off the shelves. Just depends if you want to maybe maximize profit by reselling, or if you're just trying to not clear off the shelves.
Well, and not only obviously does Innova set out at that point to make more money, Paul's going to make more money. So when they restock any given disc, whether it's a signature disc or a Tour Series disc, and they produce more of them maybe than anticipated or originally forecasted, when they're doing it, they're directly benefiting him as well on top of it. Obviously, he's getting a cut of every single one of those. So if there's an interesting farewell, like, hey, see ya, thanks for the time. Oh, by the way, we've got this extra large check for you this quarter.
God, I wish they would give him one of those big golf checks, those giant ones. Like, I want to see Paul with a big smile in a picture. Like, it just says, thanks for the destroyers.
Well, so Blue Boy's asking, and this is a question that you and I had a conversation about, and I would like clarification from Paul or anyone at any of the manufacturers. At what point, and this is getting into details that we're not necessarily, I think, owed, but I would love to know out of sheer curiosity, at what point can they or should they or do they stop making the disc with his name on it? So let's just say his contract ends January 1st.
With his
December
name
31st.
on the stamp, or with the McPro AVR? Because my understanding is McPro or whatever is like a whole separate line. It's a whole unique. It's not your standard plastic, right?
Yeah. So like the McPro AVRs, I think, were of a special blend that weren't quite KC.
Mm-hmm.
They were a little bit stiffer in some ways. Well, I'll start with the Destroyer, for instance, as I think of that being one of the most popular discs. At what point can they stop stamping on the Destroyer and or selling those? Can you stamp up until December 31st?
Sure.
And then you continue to sell them, and let's just say it takes 2 months, which it won't. But let's say it takes 2 months to sell out 10,000 Destroyers. And I'm just making up stupid numbers here, but let's say it takes 2 months, and then you cut him a check after those 10,000 have sold in 2019?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would think so. I mean, obviously it all depends on how contracts are written, but I would guess that everything you stamp with his name on it up until that December 31st, he's getting paid for, and that you have to just trust that Innova is stopping the stamp after that point. And there's no reason to think that they wouldn't, because I don't think it benefits them that much to keep putting his name on it.
Well,
because as we know, I mean, destroyers are going to be destroyers. They're going to sell, regardless of whose name is on it.
Sure.
Regardless
but if somebody in March says, man, I wonder if they still have any McBeth stamp destroyers. I'd like to order 50 or 100 for my shop or whatever. If those continue to carry out, people will keep thinking, oh, I wonder when they're going to run out. I wonder when they're going to run out. Hence, maybe buying more of them. So that's an interesting side note to how this is all going to unfold. And I'll take it even a step further and say usually Innova's closed for the last week or so of December, that Christmas through New Year. So it'll be interesting to see when those productions and those things stop happening.
Darren LeMay says that the McPro plastic won't sell after he's gone. They only use it on 2 discs right now, and they haven't even made a Rock 3 in it in a while. Doubt they'll ever produce another run. And that's what I'm saying is like the McPro plastic, that special blend. Do you just rename it? Do you just call it
Sure.
McInnova, or not McInnova, in a pro blast plastic?
Yeah.
And say, okay, well, this formerly known as McPro. This is now this is our blend. We just had Paul's
Sure.
name on it. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. I don't think he has any rights to the special formula of plastic that they use for it. Just
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how all of those things ultimately unfold moving forward. I'm just gonna.
We're gonna find out. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a couple of weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of this, and I hope there's a week or two that we can just not talk about it.
Yeah, and earlier someone had asked, maybe it was Hodel Hands or somebody had said, has there always been this much talk and chatter around this time of year? And the question is absolutely not.
Well, last year there was a lot of talk and chatter about contracts, but not to this extent because there wasn't the big one. I mean, we saw Ricky move 2 years ago away from Prodigy to Latitude. I think it was 2 years ago.
Well, before the 2016 season.
Yeah, before 2016. And so there was a lot of discussion about that. And Paul just throws a magnifying glass on it. He amps it up. And we're going to see this. As long as manufacturers continue to sign these players to 1-year agreements, you're going to hear about this.
Yeah, and I think you're going to...
Assuming the rumors are true and Paul's contract is 4 years long, in 4 years, if we're still doing this, which I hope we are, we're going to hear about all this stuff again unless it comes out right away. Hey, I'm re-signing with whomever it is. Paul just moves the needle. Or if Ricky says this year or next year or year after, hey, someone says, hey, Ricky, thanks for signing with us, and we don't know where he's going, that's what you're going to hear.
Well, and then the follow-up, is this a new trend? And yeah, because as Johnny just said, if they're 1 or 2 year deals, and there's and I think what we're proving this year, maybe more than any year previously, is everyone has a project or a number or a plan, and it's getting into being a much more competitive space. You may think, oh, so-and-so is signed with them. They've been with them for a long time, or they've been successful with them. They've done so well with them, or whatever. They seem to be such a great fit. And then all of a sudden, the next day, you hear a rumor, or maybe even the full-blown truth of, oh, so-and-so's moving. You're like, really? Like, there's been a few shockers that I think are going to still come out that I'm quite surprised by myself. So yes, this will continue to trend. It will become more cutthroat. It'll become more business-like.
Going to be just like any other sport.
Yeah. In
the NFL, everybody's talking about Le'Veon Bell because he held out for 9 or 10 weeks or whatever it is, and now he's finally coming back. Are they going to play him? Is he not? What type of contract stipulations? Is he going to be able to get out of his contract? Are they going to re-sign him or tag him with a different type of tag coming next year? Is he going to get playing time? We are becoming a grown-up sport.
One way or another.
Kind of.
All right. Haha. Maybe Paul is playing the long game and throwing a year away with Discraft, shoots like crap for a year, and goes back to Innova to take another Worlds. I mean,
I don't think that's the case because I don't think Paul's going to sign for anything short of 2 years. It just doesn't make any sense. At his advanced age, he wants the long-term deal.
That was one of the funnier statements that I've read out there on one of the many chatter boards of sorts. Is just someone saying, I don't think Paul's thinking. He's thinking about the short term and not long term, and I couldn't agree with that. I couldn't disagree with that more. Like, he is definitely not thinking short term versus long term with what he's trying to accomplish. So, and out on the board, Disc Golf Nerd is saying that everyone's running out of time to participate in the super chat. If you super chat with us here tonight, you make yourself eligible to win a Fuji. I don't know. That's what I see.
The Mount Fuji?
Killing me softly. A Fuji presented or sponsored or hosted by Disc Golf Nerd. So we appreciate that.
Yep. It's the Fuji disc, and he might buy you a bottle of Fiji water.
Ah, wow. That would be great.
He might. That's not a guaranteed. And you win a no expenses paid trip to Fiji.
Huh.
Where we don't pay anything. We just say you can go to Fiji if you want.
You can go to Zambia, too, if you want to do some work. think we'd appreciate that. Everybody would appreciate that. All right, Johnny, are you going to be doing any kind of a drawing for our regular giveaway here?
At some point, I will. Yeah.
You going to do that now?
No.
I'm running a stuff to yammer on about.
No, you're not.
Robert McCall's out on the board, though, representing Dynamic. Robert, are you officially representing Dynamic Disc when you log in? I mean, you're probably not on the clock.
I think he always is.
So are you always? Are you
Did
somewhat?
you see that shave?
Oh my gosh!
Clean face.
I can't unsee that.
The guy who looks like he's going to be competing for juniors under 16 next year.
Yes. Robert participating. I think there's a whole DD crew. We're not tough enough over here at SmashBoxx to.
I shaved today. Sorry, guys.
To participate. Oh.
I did. I shaved.
I thought you did 2 weeks ago.
I literally shaved today because it was. I'm not even kidding. It was getting a little like to the point where when you look at it, you go, dude, you need to kind of shave.
Well,
it's embarrassing.
We're not part of it, but we invite everyone to go out and become part of the Disc Golf Answer Man No Shave November. Become part of that movement since we didn't have our act together to do such a thing. Go out and support another disc golf group or cause that is, and I think they've got some good stuff going on over there. All right. Would come to Australia to play in the Australian Disc Golf Championships, Luke is saying. That is definitely a good idea. All right, so Johnny V is going to sort some numbers and get some things ready for our Patreon supporters. I'm going to give one more additional plug. I've got some really great stuff coming up in the off season, and just four sets of videos that come to mind that are all on the verge of being ready, barring commentary. I think of Nantucket Open, where I've got a Raz round, a Skins round, rounds 1 and 2, all going to. There's going to be a huge push for that, along with some major giveaways as that unfolds. I've got the Monster on the Mountain, all 3 rounds edited. Some commentary, I believe, is getting laid down for that tomorrow. Now we've got the women's event, the PLO that just took place. That is essentially edited. I got almost all of that done already, which I'm super excited about. The Ledgestone Skins match, actually, I believe, is fully edited, thanks to my buddy. I believe that's put together and needs some commentary. And then there's some other A-tiers or other smaller events that I kind of volunteered some time or services at that also are all ready to be released. So this off season is going to not feel like it, because every other week and then some, plus going to Australia, I'm going to have plenty of content for you guys to consume. All right, Johnny. What do we got?
All right. So, as we say, every week we are going to be giving away a wonderful prize tonight. Do you know what we're giving away, Terry?
I have, thanks to some friends over at Legacy Disc.
Legacy! Ricos!
We've got a couple different options. If you get back to me soon enough.
I like that yellow one.
Yeah, we've got a couple different options of some really cool items. One of which, a Pinnacle Outlaw. You have seen the likes of Sarah Hokum perform quite well with something like this. This is a Pinnacle Outlaw. I believe that one is that an Aftermath, or is that is a Icon Aftermath?
Icon Aftermath.
And Pinnacle Outlaw. You'll have your choice if you get back to me soon enough with the choice. Otherwise, one might just get shipped out to you. These guys were gracious enough to do a Disc Golf Guy stamp on these. I've got a ton of Legacy discs that I had picked up earlier in the year and haven't got around to offering up. So one way you can get your hands on something is by simply winning it tonight. How easy is that?
Let me tell you how easy it is.
Oh, my gosh.
If you ever ran into Terry or myself and thought, I'd like to buy that guy a drink.
Or 6.
Or 6. It depends on which event you're at, Terry, where you 6 drinks. And you think, I would buy those guys a drink. Well, you can kind of do that via patreon.com, patreon.com. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support this podcast. You know, we are independent media where we just like to give stuff away. We're crazy. We're crazy like a fox. And so, once again, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. At any level, you can be eligible for our weekly giveaway, where we give away a disc or a disc member package sometimes, or other prizes, all that other fun stuff. So right now we have 190 Patreon supporters. And do we have a good number you want to pick, Terry?
I think it was my third time at the PLO. I think so. Let's go with 3 numbers, and on the third number, that will be our winner.
All right. The third number is 157. So we go to our sheet, which I just downloaded and put in, and 157 is Sal Zerbo.
Another new name. I love it.
Sal Zerbo. I love your name. It sounds science fiction-y. I think that
it might be an alias, but we'll take it.
Who knows? All I know is that you are the Patreon winner tonight. Once again, thank you for being a supporter. We really do appreciate every one of our Patreon supporters. And it warms my heart whenever I see an email saying, hey, you have a new Patreon supporter. I'm always like, oh, thank you, somebody.
Yes, we appreciate it. It's so nice.
It is.
All right, Sal, once I get word from you, there's kind of a batch process that's going to take place. I feel like I owe at least 3 or 4 various giveaways to go out. I'd like to get them all together and then get them all prepared and shipped out at once. But Sal, if you reach out, let me know if you are more in line with a Pinnacle Outlaw or would like to try out and or bag an Icon Aftermath.
I think he's an Aftermath guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
But we'll find out.
Oh, both of these feel great. So thank you to my friends over at Legacy Disc, Steve, Bomba Rico, out there doing really good things. All right, Disc Golf Nerd says, might we see any more Smashbox stamp plastic anytime soon? I'd like a Smashy Thrasher. Smashy Thrash. That is a good question. I think that we are in just about probably in need of a refresher. Well, Smashbox stamped disc outside of our Patreon.
I was going to say, I've told Terry that.
Oh yeah, now it's on me.
Yeah, I've sent Terry the information, the stamp he should have available. I keep telling him, have you ordered the Patreon discs? And he has not. He's been very busy, but I would really, really love it if he did that before he left to wherever he's going. Have them delivered, and we can get those shipped out ASAP.
Yes, but in addition to those, some form of a Smashbox logo disc that isn't specific to Patreon, I think would be a good idea as well. Darren asks, Johnny V, have you had any contemplation for throwing MVP or Axiom for the science aspects alone? I've been wanting to bag a Tesla for years.
No. I
You're
don't.
not swayed by the names or the science or the...
No. I mean, everyone talks about the gyro aspect of it and the science behind it. I think MVP is doing really good stuff. MVP Steve is on a lot of the discussion boards that I see and on the Discord that I'm a part of. And he actually reached out when I was talking about reviewing plastic. Someone said, hey, you should do this. And I said, no, I shouldn't. And I said, we have Disc Golf Nerd who does these awesome reviews. And then I think MVP Steve had barely just kind of read a little bit of it. He reached out to me privately, said, hey, if you're interested in doing reviews, let me know. I'll send you stuff. And I flat out said, no, don't send me stuff. I am a...
We'll give your stuff away.
I will. I'm not, he's like, if you're interested in doing reviews, I'm like, I'm not at all interested in doing reviews. It's not my thing. I would be very bad at it. Talk to Disc Golf Nerd. And so there was that. But as far as like, I'm interested in throwing it in general, but not because of its sciencey thing. I'm always just interested in throwing any discs, any new plastic. I always want to see how they fly. So,
yeah,
but the science thing doesn't interest me.
Again, if somebody wants to get product out there and they feel like we are a good conduit for that, we're more than willing to oblige, and we'd be glad to do so. We're not gonna beg or try and sell you on that. But if you feel like you insist on giving us something to then turn around and give away, we will be glad to do so. But in terms of actual reviews, neither of us are playing enough. Neither of us have enough comparisons these days to probably do a solid review justice.
I could tell you if it was stable.
Yeah,
that thing is overstable.
Yeah, science is overrated. is how he quotes you on that. I agree. That's with Johnny and saying science is overrated or something. All right. I don't know. That was a good time for any final questions. I think we're going to get some pieces together here for wrapping it up on final questions. I saw the Disc Golf Pro Tour today did a a virtual wall in giving away a ton of merchandise and product. I think that sold out in like 4 minutes. So hopefully a lot of people got a lot of good stuff. I know a lot of huge supporters. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Buy the box and everything, and he sells out, and then you get a box, and
or all the different stuff that they give you. It's pretty crazy.
It's pretty sweet.
Little Hand says, I remember when FASA sent you bags. Yes, they did send us some bags very early on as we got things started. Did a quick review of those, which were a little bit easier, I would say, than discs to do. But even those, by today, like, there's so many different bags, and then where to compare them, where to put them in the price points and the various lines. It's crazy because we see everything from like $14 or $10 and $14 bags to $400 bags and everything in between. And I'm going to say I'm a little bit old school and think like 10 years ago when there were like 5 different disc golf bags on the market or whatever it was. And now there's just all these companies that have them.
Have we seen a manufacturer name their discs after like Greek and Roman gods?
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm thinking like the Zeus, the Apollo, the Medusa, things like that.
No.
There you go. Whoever's the next manufacturer,
just handing out ideas.
Just take that. I was just thinking, I saw the Atlas, and that made me think of the different Greek and Roman gods, and so it's interesting. Someone says they want a quick in the bag for me these days. Trying to think what I'm throwing. Drivers are mostly Innova. I have a Star Leopard. Actually, I gave it away to somebody on the course the last time I was out there because he threw it really well for being, the level he was at. I'm throwing a Trespass. I'm throwing a Destroyer, a Wraith. Those are kind of my drivers. I need to put the Leopard back in my bag. My mids are almost exclusively Discraft. I got my Buzz, my Comet, and my Zone. I do have a Truth that I'm bagging as I'm kind of playing with it now and again. I haven't found a spot for it, so to speak, where I feel really confident throwing it, as opposed to my Buzz. Oh, and a Buzz SS as well. An old school EMAC Buzz SS of all things. And right now, honestly, as far as putters, I am completely open to putters because I'm using beat up old magnets, 4-chain magnets, and all my magnets are to the point where it's like they're all kind of beat up and they're all going straight. So I need a disc. I want a newer disc that kind of reflects a slightly beat magnet because the newer magnets feel too stable. I tried to Judge a couple years ago. That was way too stable. It's a great throwing putter, but not good for putting for me. So I need to I need to get on either the Warden or the Marshall, and I see Robert McCall and Eric Oakley fighting over those two particular discs.
That's cute.
I know they're being all so cute and socially media, but I need to start kind of playing with discs. I was thinking about the P2, but somebody said that was too stable. If it's a lot like a Judge, and I don't want an overstable putter. So,
speaking of Robert McCall and Eric Oakley.
Okay.
I don't know if you're still out there, Robert. I don't know if I'm a big fan. It's all fun and games. It's all fun and games. They're Team Judge, Team Warden, all that other stuff. Heck, I helped make one of the videos for crying out loud. Or assisted, I should say. Lent some of my video. It's also funny to think, like, as much as it's a fun little battle among them all within the DD family, like, you have a DD person in jest saying, oh, hey, your other DD disc sucks. And I know it's all in this fun play. I'm just going to say, Robert, I don't know if I'm a fan.
Really?
Yeah. Like, again, it's all fun.
I don't think, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if I've seen one of the others say that the other disc sucks so much as my disc is better. But maybe I haven't seen all the product. It's
just an interesting.
It's an interesting it's a fun advertising.
Little, yeah, I mean, that's
what
doing.
It is.
I
it's
get
social
that.
media and advertising.
Of course, I don't know if I'm a fan of that. I'm like, you're kind of jokingly ripping on your own other product. So stop it. It's so mean.
Stop being so mean to each other.
To your own. I don't know. That's just one perspective.
I did have one little
great.
minor rant, PDGA related, that I wanted to go on.
Oh, jeez.
Um,
I'm not supposed to tell people.
the PDGA magazine.
This one.
Yeah, this one.
Why don't you pose it in question form? No, maybe you don't need to.
I'm going to.
Don't bother.
I would
tell us. Tell them how you feel.
I would love
Get
to
bold.
know from our board how many people find value in the PDGA magazine. I reached out to Steve Hill, particularly, as he is kind of the media person, and I posed him the same question because I had talked to Terry and I said, I don't think I've popped the plastic on the magazine in 2 years. Normally I get them, they stack up for a while, and then I hand them to you at one point and say, because you're a pack rat and a hoarder, and we'll keep them.
Sure.
Yep. And I just think that there is value to be had in the magazine, but what they put in the magazine might need to be addressed. I think if you're putting anything like tournament results, tournament information for any of our major events, it's dated information. Because we have so many websites and podcasts and notifications from manufacturers on results, all this stuff.
Spoilers.
That the results of most events are kind of, they're not
old news.
They're old news.
They're dated.
And they're not needed. Now, there is a spot I think where you could put things like travel information. Like, hey, guess what? Eagles Wings is going to write up this big thing for the magazine about going to Zambia. That could be something in there. There could be course, the Chuck Kennedy hole design section, maybe the cool photographs section. And I think there's a value possibly in having it for handouts when you're at conventions for these different, but hey, check out our magazine. We have this. And I reached out to Hill, and he didn't have any hard numbers for me. I would love to know if the PDGA is making money on the magazine with all the advertisers that are in there, or if they're losing money on the magazine. And I think my opinion could be swayed depending on how much they're losing. I think there is a limit to say, hey, it's really only costing us, I'm just going to make up a number, $20,000 a year. And I think you could look at that and say, okay, this advertising for the PDGA is worth $20,000 a year for all these things. If you come to me and say, hey, guess what? This magazine is costing us $150,000 a year, I might have a different viewpoint on that. The other thing Steve Hill brought up was saying they don't have the survey results yet back either, because there was a survey that was put out there as far as some of the stuff. So once he gets that back, he's going to get me the information that maybe the magazine is more useful for some of, I don't want to pigeonhole people, but maybe for some of our older PDGA members that aren't as
you ageist.
I know that aren't online nearly as much as
for
some
their
of
own
us
damn
youngers.
tour. How about you?
So
is that a callback? Is that what that is?
That is a callback. So maybe it has some value with some PDGA members in that aspect.
And as you guys were all coming in, Darren LeMay says, I immediately donated every magazine I've ever gotten to the Disc Golf Center for their TV area and tell them to give it to any kids that come in. He's got a few that were signed to give to kids. The dude says, you better mention the China trip to your hypothetical situation. Results of all the stats of every player could be useful for AMs. And I don't... True. But again, the question is, are people reading them? Any AMs or pros? Is anyone reading it? Reading a magazine about disc golf is just dorky. That I disagree with. Who reads magazines at all?
That's kind of a valid point in general, is what I'm saying.
I just think, I'll say this. Well, let me read a few more of these, as opposed to a weekly 3-hour live podcast show. Yeah, which everyone definitely should be on.
That's not dorky at all.
Exactly. I'll say this. To me, aside from being a pack rat and a hoarder and a wannabe frisbee disc golf museum curator, or founder, I feel like there is a certain amount of legitimacy that is then brought, and that's where you said, it could be handed out like last week on Wednesday after our show, early morning. I got up, I stopped at that park to do the Paul McBeth announcement, but I was on my way to a park and rec show. And that's where, stop sneezing.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. But I was on my way to a park and rec show. And that's where I meet with dozens of various park and rec departments that come to a booth that I have set up that is to promote and show off and promote disc golf.
Yeah.
Getting a good course design, having the right products, so on and so forth. You'd be amazed how many people walk up, and when they're just kind of surveying your booth and what's there, I have PDGA handouts.
Mm-hmm.
I have Wisconsin-based handouts. I may have a manufacturer handout. But you're now, I mean, it was a big deal when we went from a black and white magazine with just a couple of color photos or front and back color to an all color to then all glossy. I mean, it's from an outsider's perspective, to hand our magazine to anyone who doesn't know disc golf, like, here's our magazine, like, it's really impressive looking. I mean, it's definitely well put together and impressive. Now, someone who's in the know may say, oh, it's really stupid. I'm sick of these beginner articles or whatever you disagree with in it. But I'm saying when you hand it to Joe Schmo or to I don't even want to say Joe Novice, you're introducing disc golf to someone and it gets in those hands. I think it is then impressive and adds legitimacy. So like you're saying, what's that PR or marketing dollar worth? Where do you draw that line? I agree.
Where do those lines cross? Where the cost for having it? I'll say this. I think having it for every member doesn't seem as required anymore these days.
And so a few years ago, there was a push, as some people were saying, that they didn't find value in it or they didn't need it or whatever. An individual, yourself, myself, anyone, can opt out of getting the magazine every year, and I think you save $5 on your renewal. So that is an option where you're just essentially opting out. Is that an option still? I know if you have more than one PDGA membership in your household, you can opt out for opt out of it and save $5. I may be misspeaking, and when I'm talking about not getting the magazine at all for yourself, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'd have to double check that. And on the board, Darren says, enhancing the Disc Golf Hall of Fame Museum could be a better use of the magazine funds. I personally disagree with that, and that's clearly no disrespect to the Hall of Fame. I just feel like our Hall of Fame is in one location, in one spot, in a corner of the country that hundreds will visit and truly benefit from. I feel like the magazine has way more. Even if every single PDGA player, all 30,000 current members this year, took their magazine, their 4 magazines, and you dropped it off at your dentist or at your gym or anywhere, I feel like it has the potential to spread love and has power. Even if you never even open it, but you take your magazine and you just drop it off at the dentist office next time you go to the dentist. I feel like that to me, whatever that does has value.
Sure.
It may not be a ton, but there's still value there.
I completely agree.
Even if you hate it.
Value. No, I completely agree that there's value in something like that. I would question how many people would actually do that. And I mean, there's probably a small percentage.
Sure. I'm just saying that's one option. Or for the people that say, "Oh, I don't even open it. I open it, I thumb through it, and I throw it away." Just leave it somewhere that's not littering. Leave it somewhere where somebody could stumble across it. Leave it at a Boy Scout meeting. Leave it at the YMCA. Leave it at your gym. Just leave it somewhere where somebody might stumble across it. What's the harm?
I actually agree with Darren saying you could probably maybe reduce the number that you get every year. Go from 4 down to 1 or 2 and say, hey, this is our annual magazine. It has, and it could be the same or maybe a little thicker. And have those stories in there. Like, hey, here's 4 articles about course design from John Houck, Chuck Kennedy, Terry Miller, and someone else. And then and stack that up. And maybe you do it twice a year, maybe do it once a year. And again, I don't know the costs. It could be that the advertising in there is covering all the costs or a majority of them. Those numbers, I don't think I don't think the PDGA breaks those numbers down for you. I think there's a
Not for us personally.
For us
but
personally,
there's some inquiring.
people know. I'm sure people do know, and they look at that.
Well, and as I asked you when you originally brought this up was, let's just say it's a break even, and I'm just going to make up a number and say $100,000 is spent on it a year. I'm just making up a number, and $100,000 in advertising comes in. Clearly, the manufacturers or the advertisers feel that there's value in it as well, and it's an avenue and outlet for them to do it, because I don't think it's hurting for advertisers.
I don't know,
but I don't know that for a fact. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's clearly a value that some advertisers are finding in it, because there's plenty of advertising going on. Now, I'm going to quickly jump over to Christy, who says she dislikes the thing she dislikes more than the magazine is the email newsletter. What a waste of time, and basically all the same stuff that's on the website. I'll just say I completely disagree with that comparison. That email newsletter costs next to nothing to send. They probably have some account with
MailChimp or something.
a mail marketing agency, but they're probably getting a pretty good discount. And second of all, there's probably millions of people. Well, there are millions of people that visit the website, but there's tens of thousands that never probably get around to a website and love the idea of it just showing up in their inbox. It's just a lazy factor. It's here it is.
Rather than having to go out and seek it, the information every couple weeks or every month
or every other day or whenever that content is there.
Yep, it's set in front of you like, oh yeah, here's email. This is what happened this month. I didn't think about going to PDGA this month because I'm not going to any tournaments this summer or something along those lines. I'm with Terry. I don't mind that one nearly as much.
And I'll say, Christy, I see where you're coming from on saying that, though. You're also in the know.
Correct.
You're well informed. That email newsletter is probably very redundant to you because you are one of the most active participants I know in the social medias of the disc golfs. Like, you're everywhere. You're listening to podcasts. You're interacting. You're sharing your opinions with other people on Facebook. Like, you're very active. For like the fringe member, that email newsletter might be gold. Like, oh, yeah, once a week is about good. I like that I get kind of all the 4 or 5 articles, all the China articles, all just sent to me in one easy-to-read place. And like everything else, if you don't want it, it's a simple unsubscribe at the bottom of the email. So anyway, but I do hear what you're saying, and you're saying you're not talking monetarily. If they're going to do a newsletter, it should be more interesting.
Yeah, but why split and say, oh, this is our newsletter info, this is our website info. It seems a little redundant to separate that when you should have it in one place and then just reference the other. I mean, I can understand what you're saying, though.
People don't look at magazines anymore. We just haven't accepted it yet. People look at their phones even while driving.
My wife would beg to differ. My wife has a stack of magazines she looks at. She gets 2 or 3 magazines a month. Like just yesterday, we got HGTV magazine that has those Property Brothers, the twins that are on the cover of it. And I looked at it on my footstool and went, no. And I kicked it aside so I could put my foot up on the footstool. I'll never look at it, but she will sit and thumb through it.
Yeah, I guess it still depends. Like, clearly magazines still sell. They're in every single store at the airport. And I see, tens of thousands of people throughout the year flipping through magazines while on an airplane ride. So they're, and I'm not saying they're not dying, but they definitely are.
Yeah, I'm sure they've scaled down.
Like any print media, I will agree with that. Hold on. Darren says, like I asked earlier, would anyone know if Fiji even existed if not for Truman Burbank? Funny enough, I don't even know what that reference is.
I don't.
Okay, well, I think I would then still know.
I've heard the name Truman Burbank, but I don't necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know what that reference is, so I can't speak to that.
If anyone wants if you have a kid, younger, probably, I'm gonna be a little sexist.
Ageist
here.
Again?
No, sexist this time.
Sexist.
If you probably a boy.
Wow.
Ages 7 to 10. Netflix, Voltron is a pretty good cartoon.
All right.
My kid likes it. I don't mind sitting and watching it. It has a couple inside jokes every now and again for an adult. You get chuckle out of it, but it's a good solid cartoon for your kids. And if you want one that's more for adults, Castlevania ain't too bad either.
Okay.
Darren, are you talking the Truman Show? Truman Burbank? Was that his name? I've seen the Truman Show a couple times, but
Been a while. Since
but I wouldn't put that together with Fiji by any means. I don't make the connection there.
And did anyone watch Homecoming on Amazon Prime? It is the best show of the year. Shouted and in all caps. Is created by Sam Ismail. The guy who made Mr. Robot. It's based on a podcast that is incredible. I have not.
It's on my queue. The wife and I plan on watching it.
Speaking of Q, is it Q or I think it's Q, right? Is there some kind of electronic currency that's trying to start up as a? Is this all marketing? What is this?
I have avoided it. I've seen it come up on my social media.
A disgruntled PayPal employee trying to take over the world. Is that it? Somebody enlighten us, because I haven't talked to you about it offline.
No, I haven't. Yeah, it's funny because you and I haven't discussed this, but I've seen a number of people in my social media say, "Hey, they give the big spiel.
Yeah,
this is so and so from a PayPal employee, blah blah blah," and then they're like Q, and I'm thinking like, is that a? All I kept thinking is like, is that some sort of Bitcoin like wannabe replacement? Is it what like? Is it just another Venmo? I don't know, and I just scroll past it.
Well, I would like to know if there's any legitimacy to it. I don't even. I figured you'd be all up on it.
I honestly have been ignoring it.
Well, so here's another question that I'll ask. If I had, here's a Forbes article: is Initiative Q the new Bitcoin? And so here's my question to you, though. Okay, first of all, it just says Initiative Q is not in any way a cryptocurrency, but it might just be the new Bitcoin. All right, I will read this article.
Darren asked me if I got the knife info.
Later.
I did get your knife info. I looked it over. I have not thought about buying a knife anytime right now. It's just kind of in the back of my head at some point. When
knife in the back
when I do want to buy a knife, I will definitely look at your information and kind of dig more into it.
Yes, you will. All right. So here's my question to you, though. My Initiative Q to you.
Okay.
If I had $500 burning a hole in my pocket, virtual or I don't know.
I would tell you to
literal.
Sign up for Patreon, SmashBoxxTV.
Yeah, that sounds like it pays great dividends. If I had $500 in my pocket and I wanted to get into the cryptocurrency game, how, not just how, what would I do?
How you'd sign up probably for a Coinbase account if you want the easiest user-friendly experience. You go to Coinbase and they've got a dozen different cryptocurrencies you can pick from.
Okay.
Probably still. I haven't logged into my account in
since you were once a big baller.
For like 6 months, probably.
Since the great dip.
The great crash of 2017. But I mean, you could throw it at Bitcoin. It seems to be the one that's kind of maintaining. I honestly haven't done much research into any of the other cryptocurrencies recently. It used to be Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I know there's like 4 new ones. I think I saw some of. I don't know. But 500 will get you like, I think Bitcoin's at like 6,500, right around there.
And it once was at.
It peaked out at just over 19,000.
19 is what I was going to say. Okay.
Yeah, maybe just under 20, depending on.
Okay. So off the board, the only crypto with true legitimacy for long term is Bitcoin. A couple of people are saying Cash App. Cash App. Yep. So maybe back to that to the queue, and I think I've seen some stuff about Venmo. I've been paid in Venmo. Some people owe me money that they could pay me in Venmo. I've seen some Venmo run around, and I know they're readjusting some things. It continues to be interesting to see as all of these different currencies and the legitimacy that is or isn't attached to them as we move forward. But Darren says, I bought some Bitcoin a while ago, not much, forgot my damn password and all that and never went back to it.
Yeah, I think I think I've said this before. I'm even for the most part with all my Bitcoin because I bought it when it was pretty cheap. And then I bought a tiny portion of one and then it shot way up. And then I bought a little and I sold and I bought a little and I sold and it dropped down. And I think I'm sitting with like
10 million.
0.2 Bitcoin or something just hanging out in my account somewhere on Coinbase. It just sits there and I'm just going to leave it and ignore it. And if
someday retire on it.
If someday I see that it shoots way up, maybe I'll sell it. Or more than likely what I'll do is like, oh, cool, it's getting more value. And I'll hang on to it until it crashes again. So I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to go buy a bunch of it tonight.
You should. You should buy a whole crap load of it. Or instead, donate to Eagles Wings Disc Golf.
All right. I'll do that as well.
We will do that tonight.
All right. Do we? So now I'm confused, and we'll start to wrap things up here. Do you want to do a drawing? Is that on you or is that on us? I'm guessing that's on us.
Oh, we can. I can do it. I sent
Disc Golf Nerd.
I sent Disc Golf Nerd a list of all the people, but I mean ultimately I could do it.
Oh, I just didn't know what the plan was here. That's all.
I didn't either. Disc Golf Nerd just said if we super chat to give stuff away. But I can definitely do the drawing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Do you
8,
think
9,
when I go to Australia,
people.
I can pay in Bitcoins to the people that I interact with? Like,
possibly.
I'd like to ride a kangaroo. Here's my Bitcoin.
I don't think kangaroos take Bitcoin.
no, to the.
I'm just
Can
guessing.
I put it in their pouches?
I don't know. I haven't been to Australia, so I don't know.
I'm just wondering
Are you going to part your hair on the other side in Australia?
Yeah, I'm going to have to, right? Shout out to Beauty by Cass. Thanks for the haircut, the trim up by Cass. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Disc Golf Nerd, it's totally up to you. However you want to do the drawing. If you want to do it tonight, if you want to do it next week. I sent you all the information for Super Chats that we have, so it's your world. I'm going to let you make the decision.
Okay. I just genuinely didn't know what was going on, so I thought I'd ask. Super exciting. Yeah, this is something for offline. Maybe not.
Nothing's offline, Terry. We live our life online.
I was just going to ask if I were to start
a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, DG bucks. No, if you were to create a disc golf video website. Oh, I think discgolfvids.com once existed.
It did.
Yeah.
DG Stream I owned for a while.
Yeah, what would you name it?
I still maybe I still don't own it. I don't know. I used to own DG Stream or Disc Golf Stream. But
what would you name it if you were to start hosting disc golf videos on a website, like the YouTubes, but what would you name it? I think that is an interesting question to be asked. Ooh. All right. Only in the outback a kangaroo would ride you. Okay. Steakhouse, I'm a big fan.
It depends on what you're looking at for the video. Like, what are you putting out there? Are you putting out your videos? Are you putting out the collection?
A bunch of videos.
Clash DVDs?
A bunch of videos. Yeah, a bunch of disc golf videos.
I don't know. I don't even know what the purpose of it would be when we have YouTube. I mean, just my thought.
I don't think STFU would work.
I don't think that's a good name.
I'm guessing that one's taken. Yeah, I don't think that one would work.
Okay, Disc Golf Nerd said he's going to announce the winner next week, and after he's going to do a drawing after we
keeps them coming
up.
Back.
Yeah.
Keeps them coming back for next week. I appreciate that. I can do that.
We got that under control.
All right, so I think we're going to call it.
Yeah, you should just invent YouTube.
I should. That's not a bad idea.
Well, I want to know, and I need to find this out because there's different things. With skipace.com, which I've just reached back out to my developer and said, hey, guys, let's work on this again this winter and upgrade the site, do all this other stuff. How valid is the DFS, the daily fantasy type gambling these days? How legitimate is it? I know I saw someone post on our board earlier today that some state just authorized it. Just said, hey, this is cool. I saw New York just banned it again. So I'm going to have to do a little more research into that, but that's my next, not my next thing, but that's something I would be interested in trying to figure out.
Who's taking me up on that McBeth bet going to Discraft? That's what
know.
I want to know.
I don't know.
I would love.
Really, Darren, you're hearing a lot of hate towards Skip Ace? I'd be Louisiana pass today. Yeah, I can't figure out why either. But if you point him, if you find him, point me at him, and I'll yell at him.
Probably because they think you're ugly.
That's fine. The website is.
No, you're ugly.
I know, but the website doesn't show my picture.
Oh,
I keep it that way specifically.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
There's enough people on. Because I think I'll say Skip Base. I think could be kind of cool if you could log in and say
bet $1 million on the day with someone,
and just
I'd love that.
Put kind of like the way they do with daily fantasy. You sign in, you create like a challenge. I want to challenge one person. I want to challenge 10 people, and people can log in and say, "Oh, hey, look, there's an open one." Click, and they, it's a $10 challenge. Maybe 50 cents goes to me and the website, and the rest goes to whoever wins. Or you have to figure all that out. I leave that all up to my programmer. But being able to have kind of a group, and you could enter as many contests as you want. That to me, I think would be really cool. One, I don't know the legal part of that. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I should probably look into before I do something like that. And I don't know if the PDGA would be cool with that.
Probably not.
It depends how legal it is, right? So
nah, that might be more than just legality.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know about betting on disc golf officially. Yeah, that is a good question.
I don't know. Yeah, people saying it's too hard. I don't know. Too hard to navigate, maybe. Yeah, I'm hoping next year that we're going to have more options, which is funny because the more options you give people, the harder it can be.
It all becomes more convoluted.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then so you can be a league manager and say, hey, I don't want to have to pick FPO. I want MPO. I want this much salary. I want these events. That's what I'm hoping to do. You'll be able to pick I don't want to pick 4 players. I want to be able to pick 5 MPO players. I don't want an alternate because I want to make it a hardcore league. Or I do want an alternate that's going to work. I want to be able to add all those options to a custom league to have people come in and say, hey, this is what I want in my league. This year was more of a, hey, let's get this thing off the ground. Well, the first year was a real basic site that I designed. This past year, it was completely redesigned, so it's more modular. This upcoming year, I'm really hoping to really make it more customizable for the end user and their specific leagues. So kind of working my way up to a real grown-up website, so to speak.
Well, see, after I'm done reinventing YouTube, you should just reinvent Yahoo Fantasy Sports.
Hey, man.
And then we'd both be okay. We'd be all set.
I got a niche, man.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You should do that. HeiserClip.com. Ooh, that's a clever name, Nick.
Yeah.
There's some stuff to be talked about. We are going to call it. We appreciate each and every one of you chiming in here tonight. Earlier, of course, we talked to Jen Allen. We talked to Zambia goers in Hannah and Dustin Leatherman. We appreciate it. We missed out on Dana. We hope to have him next week. I think we're going to also have Paul Ulibari joining us a little more frequently here in the offseason. I met up with his mom a couple times this weekend, and she said, you have to have my Paulie on more. And I said, we'll make that happen because he's such a great guy. Big Putt Bill, Hodel Hands, Darren LeMay, the dude, all of you guys. Just we appreciate you guys all feeding us some good stuff.
Just hanging out with us.
And hanging out with us. We're lonely. And what else could we be doing here on a Tuesday night without all of you guys taking it all in? We appreciate it. Love you guys. And we will see you next week. You step inside the Smashbox.